everybody, and welcome back to Westeros. It is a Sea of Spears Sunday, and that means that it doesn't matter if Game of Thrones is dead, because A Song of Ice and Fire will never die. Whatever. So, we are taking you back to George R.R. Martin's setting of Westeros, but we're going to the opposite end of Westeros from where the cameras often were. And we are, of course, adventuring in Dorne with the scions of House Nymeria, of mingled Valyrian and Dornish blood. Let's do our usual character introductory nonsense. Let's just go for the top, old school. We'll do oldest to youngest. Felicia, who are you? Who's your character? What's going on? How do you feel right now about life?
No. I'm Felicia, and I play Rhoyne Nymerian. I am heir to House Nymerian, eldest of the 4 children. And how do I feel right now? I feel pretty accomplished. I think that we have checked off our list of to-dos for the week very well. We're now to our last task to knock off the board before we begin to take the fight to the Vulture King. And even though I did get kind of tore up in the last fight, I think it'll be okay. Had some time to recover, and we should be good. Because the next, after this particular event, we'll be going into the huge fight, which is going to be the mass warfare fight, which will be my sister's job. And that leaves us to Baela.
Hi everyone, I'm Erica, and I'm playing Baela Nymerian. I am twin to my sister, and I am leading all of our forces here as we run up to the big confrontation happening soon. Today we have a nice and fun mission to go and liberate some armor that is being transported by people sympathetic to the Vulture King. And so our goal is to intercept and steal that well, not steal, but commandeer the armor for ourselves. And so Baela is she's confident. She's had a string of successes so far this week, and she is determined to come out of this with a big victory for her house and for the region, and to impress not only the king but all of Westeros in this deed. So she has a lot on her shoulders, but she's rising to the occasion, and she is kicking some ass, just like the women of Dorne tend to do. So with that, I will say I have had plenty of very capable help from my siblings, and I will let my brothers tell you about that.
Hi everybody, I'm Robert. I'm playing Stannis Baratheon, the oldest son of the girl's child. And I'm basically just here to help out.
Oh.
And chase women who are half merlings, half fish to the waters and nearly die.
Okay, I'm Ash. I play Adam Nymerian, and yeah, our last success against Will and the Butcher has somewhat made him feel a bit better about the Red Rose getting away, and so is feeling fairly confident about this next mission.
Fairly?
Yeah, I mean, it's naturally a very anxious creature, so never ever 100% about anything.
It's fair enough. Rhoyne, on the other hand, has absolute confidence that we will emerge victorious. We will obtain all of this armor for our people, and we will absolutely murderify the Vulture King and his ragtag group. They better be pretty fucking ragtag. Rusty.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no, totally ragtag. I will point out that there is particular reason for Adam especially to be a little nervous going into this one, Because remember
Mhm.
that the plan is to basically it's going to be a horseback chase, and that is not Adam's favorite thing. He prefers chasing different backs, not horsebacks. Oh, scandalous face.
Oh!
So,
Well,
Smackdown.
Yes, he's only just gotten okay with riding a horse again, and is still a bit nervous about it. So yeah, like having to go fast for an extended time is going to be quite scary.
so
Not
we'll
just
see.
that, I'm also going to be asking you to utilize your amazing archery skills from the back of that horse.
Cool. Cool.
I do want to see you spin 180 degrees and shoot while riding backwards.
I'm not asking that.
No, but you're just heavily implying it.
Mm-mm. No, I'd rather you just concentrate on placing your arrows right on target, so that you don't have to worry about the thing that you're riding on. You just happen to be moving as you're aiming.
Yeah,
Eric is like, Eric, I don't expect you to be shooting behind you. There's no way you're gonna be in front of these guys.
Yeah.
That's Baylor's flavor of comforting people.
Yeah.
No, sweetie, you're too slow for that. You'll just be shooting forward like a normal people.
I didn't say that.
I've got nothing.
Between Adam's fear of horses and his excellent marksmanship, I put money in the marksmanship coming out on top.
Yeah, it's like a thing he knows he's good at, so it's a thing to focus on, certainly, and hopefully nothing will go terribly, horribly wrong.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way there's gonna be a flash flood that drowns everybody and kills your horses or anything. We'll be fine. It's good.
Oh.
And mind your jokes. I don't want any crazy ass Fast and the Furious jumping off cliffs nonsense either.
Oh,
I want that.
So,
Fast and the Furious Dornish drift.
it just goes into your Fast and Furious AU. That's all this is.
yeah, I mean, it's
Oh
all
shit! I forgot all about that. I totally need to write that.
Well, if you want any suggestion of automobile stuff, send me a message.
Well, for today's episode, each of you has exactly 1 horsepower at your disposal. So we'll see how that works out for everybody. There's also very few sweet undercarriage lights. That's not quite how the not barding, the kind of quilted thing that goes over barding works. It's not quite cool neon lights, but it serves largely the same purpose. But it's also not real good for horses in Dorne. But
Also, underlightings for dicks.
I'm gonna hang like torches in her mind, horse.
so what color of under dick lighting has Lynn Corbray got, Ash?
Oh, well, red, obviously.
You didn't even
We
say.
established this that he obviously drives a black Dodge Charger with flame decals on the side because he's that much of a dick.
Right.
And actual decals.
So last episode was carried off without any actual combat physically. Nobody was left bleeding out or missing a head or anything else for them to cry about. It was entirely a social affair, as you guys were able to return the landed knights of Wind Tower to the fold of loyal service to Lord Dagos Manwoody. We basically left off with you guys leaving the tower, though, and he and his men, he made it clear, he's like, give us 1 hour, and we'll be ready to travel with you. And we're going to pick up today's episode, basically, with you guys and Sir Edwin Wynne and his men arriving back at Kingsgrave, the seat of Lord Dagos Manwood. Because you're not entirely off the hook from that encounter, you would still kind of sworn to assist him in speaking to his lord and kind of getting to the bottom of things.
It's the right thing to do.
Yes.
So, as has been your custom this week, the kind of cream of the crop of this Southern Alliance army, in terms of, that's because it's the play characters, come riding back into camp close to dusk, and you see a goodly number of soldiers, this time around, like more than normal, like it's been a few more almost every day, kind of stop what they're doing and do little good luck symbols towards you, or they just stop and like watch you guys ride by, in maybe something like reverence, maybe something of you guys becoming symbols of the Alliance or mascots or demigods, whatever, just different flavors of that sort of thing. But it's not quite like when they blow taps at an army base in real life and everybody fucking stops everything and snaps to attention or whatever. And it's not, the freed slaves worshiping Dany and letting her stage dive due to the magic power of her blonde hair and blue eyes, right? It's not that type of stuff, but it's very noticeable that people care when you guys come back into camp, and you can see them kind of stopping and like 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we got the head count, right? Like they're keeping track of you lot and of your successes, and nobody's saying anything about it. It's not like back at the tourney in King's Landing when they're yelling, "Yay! It's the Adam the Archer," and yada yada yada. They're just kind of noticing that you are back and that you're all here, and then they go back to whatever they had to do: digging ditches, cooking a meal, straightening some arrows, sharpening their spear, oiling up some armor, whatever. So it's just like a kind of hush in a bubble around you as you're riding through the camp, where people stop and they kind of look up and then they go back. And you have the distinct impression that this has all been very good for morale, that you lot have not lost anyone on any of your little day trips, and that you guys have so far at least partially succeeded on every single one of them. You are left with the distinct impression that is having a cumulative positive effect on this army and their belief in these untested, unseasoned, upstart, sandy dragon fuckers that have never led an army before, and that for some reason, like, oh, King Robert saw their tits and now they get to lead an army instead of Beric Dondarrion or Balin Swan or even, just whoever. They're like, there was probably some, I don't want to say disbelief, and maybe even doubt is a little too strong, but some uncertainty there, and you get the feeling you may be dispelling it as the week continues.
Well, that's what a good leader does, right? Inspires confidence, and through our success, we've demonstrated that we're capable, and I'd like to think that people are taking notice of that. Just like we were very capable in King's Landing, people took notice there. We're giving them reason to notice us and raise our stature.
Yep, and it's definitely working out in a very kind of clear and visible way. To answer a quick question from chat, as you lot are seeing to your horses, by which I mean handing them off to the valet squires and that sort of thing, and preparing to kind of bring Sir Edwin Wynn into Kingsgrave, we had a question in chat, and it was, I mentioned that Sir Waylon had been knighted by the Vulture King, but young Edric Dane said that Jonathor Sand left before being knighted. So how can he make knights that other knights actually recognize? Remember that any knight can make a knight. So the fact that Jonathor Sand was not knighted by House Dane does not mean he has not been knighted by someone. So basically any knight or lord can see to that. So if the Vulture King is even like keeping track of that instead of just having declared himself a knight or a lord or a king, there are any number of guys with swords and sir that could have knighted him for any number of reasons at any particular time. So, let's go back. You got Sir Edwin Wynn, and he kind of gestures, and his men peel off in a sign of kind of tense belief that Lord Dagos isn't going to have him executed. Like he is comfortable riding alone with just you lot, and sending his men off to one side to start making their camp and adding to the army. And he rides with just you through the gates into Kingsgrave and their kind of small keep. And sure enough, as has been the case when he's feeling up to it, Lord Dagos Manwoody is out here, sitting in that wheeled chair of his with his leg propped up, and watches you all arrive, and his face is Grandpa Makar unreadable when he sees Sir Edwin Wynn riding with you, and like nobody's bloody, nobody's in chains, there doesn't look like there's a fight, and he's got on that impassive lord face that Robert Baratheon does not have, but anybody else of lord and higher tends to be capable of, where he looks like a carving of the father, some statue in a temple to the seven somewhere. It's that neutral expression that trained lords cultivate around their underlings. And he actually hauls himself to 1 foot. He rises up and out of his chair with Mr. Ferris kind of scrambling to assist him, and you're sure telling him to sit back down under his breath. But he draws himself upright, albeit without putting weight on that bad leg, which is still pretty gnarly and gross. But he seems determined to meet this wayward knight of his on his feet, and look him in the eye and shake his hand, whatever may come. And there's a moment where Sir Edwin Wynn kind of pauses, but then he takes those few steps up, and he takes a knee partway up the stairs. But he does not repeat a vow of loyalty. He does not throw himself down at the mercy of Lord Dagos. He just takes a knee without like looking down, and he's still looking up at his lord. And he just says, "I apologize for my delay. Let us speak within, my lord." And he says it in a voice not terribly different than what you guys heard him using for about half of that negotiation, when it's got those heavy overtones of like "fuck off" attached, and these heavy overtones of "why should I listen to you" attached, and all that. It's very clearly his carefully neutral voice and tone also. And so, fairly quickly, you lot are kind of rushed in along with them, and we're gonna cut straight to the Solar, where the two of them are just staring at each other stony-faced. And you get the distinct impression that it is about time for House Nymerian to step up and break this, I don't even supposed to say break the ice, so like break the granite, or something like that fits Dorne better.
Well, there's obviously an impasse of pride here, so we will, I don't, Rhoyne will kind of position herself to the side, but equidistant between the two, and not between them at all. My Lord Manwoody, terrible things have befallen your vassal, and he has suffered losses, both personal and more personal. A says that he has called upon you for help, and that he received no reply.
And at that, like, as the word reply is still, like, coming out of your mouth, he takes over. And he is not a quiet man. You guys noticed that when he was bellowing at you from the top of his tower. It is a deep and powerful voice, much like Balin Swan, or maybe not King Robert powerful. King Robert's like an 11 on that scale, but it's a powerful, a warrior's command voice that is just deep and certain, like two stones being rubbed together. And this low rumble comes from him of kind of barely controlled grief or rage, or maybe both. And as the word reply is leaving your lips, he says, "Twice I sent ravens, twice I sent riders. I received no word from you, save prior to that, the faintest of warnings that something may be amiss. And your silence has cost me dear, my lord," in a very bitchy my lord tone there at the end. It sounds like it's not a terribly sincere my lord, so much as a necessary my lord. And his lord looks... You lot are seasoned enough at reading people that you probably can tell when they're lying most of the time. And he looks to be genuinely pretty surprised by this. And he almost starts to rise from his chair again before he thinks better of it. But yeah, he kind of starts up and then I received none of that. I have been distracted with my brother's capture and with all that has befallen our house, but good sir, I swear, we received no ravens nor riders. Anybody want to interject with anything? Add anything? Whatever, you feel free to. Like, I'm trying not to completely do NPC on NPC action here.
Yeah, just so it's clear, because Luke wasn't in the negotiation, he's looking at both of you guys, Rhoyne and Bela, to defer to you.
Right now, Bela doesn't have anything to chime in.
You do know that a decent percentage of your cavalrymen have been riding regular patrols, and they're not always been quiet patrols. They're still running across bands of Vulture King's men that have been trying to, they've been actively kind of sweeping the area in a way that Lord Dagos wasn't able to since his injury, etc. So you are, at this point, you have a pretty clear impression that with the number of archers they've got, etc., those ravens could have just been shot out of the air. The same way that they killed Sir Edwin's wife. They probably could have killed a rider and then killed another rider and killed a couple, so it sounds to you like this is an email consistency issue more than anything else. Is the vibe you've got from, you're absolutely certain that Sir Edwin has not lied about any of this.
I hate these.
And it looked very clearly like Lord Dagos, he doesn't think he's lying, but he is maybe a little indignant at the implication that he would ignore cries for help from one of his, from his only bannerman.
I will say, Luke has a look on his face that he just kind of like, communications get disrupted in a war zone. But I don't know what was discussed, so he's not going to say anything. But he just has that like, obvious look,
I'll chime in and say I've been receiving reports from my scouts that have been on patrol, and they regularly come across groups of the Vulture King's men, archers, guerrillas, all throughout this area. it would make sense if some of those messages be intercepted. Their archers have been well known to be more accurate than your typical archer. They're well trained.
Yes, and if they have a specific interest in the Wind lands, then they were perhaps putting extra effort into intercepting messages.
Sir Wynn is still very stiff, still very tense, very knotted, in a way, like, you guys can tell when somebody's muscles are all coiled and, like, it's that fight or flight type of response. And his voice is very calm, though, a dangerous flavor of calm, when he says, "The bandits have expressed a particular interest in our lands. That is why my wife traveled to Lowfields to reassure our small folk." And like, seethes at Lord Dagos, because he hates probably even having to say this out loud. And Lord Dagos looks a little indignant still, because again, the implication of ignoring that sort of cry for help would normally be enough to draw a challenge, right? Like if somebody talked shit to Grandpa Makar and said that he ignored a cry for help from, Aunt Elia of Sandstorm, like somebody be a bleeding over it, right? Like it's a not quite guest right level taboo, but protection versus obedience is literally the cornerstone of your way of life. So you can tell that Lord Dagos is kind of fighting to keep his shit together and stay calm. And he says, I am aware that the Vulture King harried your people. That is why I sent you word to warn you of that, and sent further word to alert you as to my brother's capture and my inability to keep you safe. And then Wynn clenches a fist, and like you can hear the leather creaking in his glove, and he goes, I was safe enough, my lord, with the tower you gifted me. I was not in danger. And he's getting a little ragged around the edges, as he's getting closer to saying what you know he has to say. But it's, yeah, you can tell when someone's losing some composure points, as it were, right?
My lord, sir, these are trying times, but it seems like we're playing right into the Vulture King's hands. He has done these things on purpose to turn you against each other. And he has been very successful at it, unfortunately.
Lord Dagos pauses for a moment, and you think he's maybe picking up what Sir Edwin is putting down, with what he's been not quite saying. And Lord Dagos says, a second raven was dispatched to Wind Tower, not to hasten your obedience, but to offer to let your lady wife leave the region with mine. Was that raven also lost, sir? And it's, again, it's very careful, very kind of formal. And Sir Edwin just nods, and you hear a sound somewhere between a cough and a sob that he chokes on for a moment in front of his lord and these strangers in a Solar turned battle room. And he just manages to kind of get out. It was. That raven was also lost. And that almost breaking of a strong man is a pretty terrible thing to see, unless you're the one breaking him and he deserves it. I don't kink shame. But for that moment, you can tell he's probably not going to be able to get out the rest of a sentence or the rest of an explanation or the rest of a story. But then you see Lord Dagos remind you of Grandpa Makar the most he has yet. The impassive face of the father showing no emotion is a generic face of any lord or any knight talking to a peasant or any king talking to a lord. But this is a moment of noblesse oblige flavored sincerity that you recognize from grandfather when small folk present him with awful problems, right? And it's a look not terribly unlike the look on Grandfather Makar's face when your father or your uncles are talked about. It's a moment of grief that doesn't quite show anywhere but in the eyes, as lords of Westeros try not to show the weakness of grief, right? And Lord Dagos does, though, just kind of slump in his chair. You can tell he's no longer angry or indignant. He's no longer coiled to even think about lunging to his feet and demand an apology and slap his desk and, you know, none of that. And he just kind of slumps back a little bit and swallows for a moment and then just gestures. And he says, Sir Edwin, we will speak on this later when there is time for such arrangements as can be made. Kingsgrave is glad for your help. And Sir Edwin gives him a nod and turns and leaves.
Before he goes, Luke says, Sir Edwin.
He stops but does not turn.
I want to say I misjudged you. I apologize for that.
He gives a nod kind of sidelong over his shoulder, and then stomps off. Lord Dagos, meanwhile, gestures again, and this time to all of you. He says, and Kingsgrave is also grateful for those of you that have brought us Sir Wyn, and while his tale of grief is most unfortunate, I am told he did not ride here alone. His axeman, yes?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes.
And he has the look of somebody that feels guilty about feeling relieved, right? Like it's the sound of somebody that hears that their baby died in childbirth, but their wife is okay, right? That sort of like this is awful, but
Yeah.
And that makes him slump in his chair a little bit more. That like his very next thought was just about having more men for this battle, and he just gives a little bit of a nod. We will have much to grieve in the coming days. She was a beauty, and my wife arranged Alea's marriage, and it was we that brought her here from House Estrin. The news will be ill met.
My lord, you, I meant what I said about we're playing into the Vulture King's hands, but when everything else failed, you reached out to help, and that eventually did, though late, reestablish lines of communication. So, you did what was necessary, I think. But that it's easy. Oh, I'm gonna grab some wine.
My lord, knowing that the circumstances are what they are, he has given more than any of us so far due to the actions of the Vulture King. I've granted his request to lead our vanguard when the time comes.
he takes in kind of a long breath. He says, "Yes, of course. Sir Edwin is not a man built for grief alone. He no doubt means to avenge his wife on the morrow or join her. I pray it will be vengeance he finds. And yes, I'm afraid," and he kind of slaps his desk, gets his shit together, and kind of straightens up. He goes, "I'm afraid it will be the morrow. Word has come. The Mountain King, the Vulture King, his army is amassed, and still growing their camp, but they will be here, no doubt, at dawn. We've recalled our scouts, but their army is forming not far from the nearest peak to the east. There is perhaps time for one final bit of preparation. I leave it in your hands, as I am yet distracted. But they will be attacking Graveston very soon. You may yet build on the defenses of the place, or follow up on this final lead. These wagons of arms and armor, reinforcing the Vulture King's army. Your decisions have been better than mine of late, my lady. I will defer to you, and we will assist however we may."
My lord, do we have word of their numbers and or troop makeup?
He gestures to the scattering of notes on his desk, and he says, "More word than I can trust. The best of my scouts swears it's 1,000 at least." Out of character, by the way, I was off by a day when he said that he'd be attacking tomorrow. There's one day left of stuff, but yeah, they are making camp and preparing to attack Graveston, which is the town nearby. Sorry. So, yeah, there's one day left, and he's just kind of asking which job Bela's going for.
Okay. I believe going for the armor to deny their use by his army and use it to bolster ours will be the best prep.
We have to assume that heavy armor is not something they have in vast supply, so I agree.
Yes, this bastard has been better equipped with a larger army than what the Red Mountains have seen in some time. We know not how. It can't be raiding alone, I would think, but the fact he's even getting more here on the eve of battle is troublesome.
Well, if he's being supplied, there may yet be a clue in this armor shipment as well as to who's doing so.
Mm-hmm.
It may not help us on the morrow, but maybe so we can go to the king about at a later date.
Reyna was trying to say something, but Felicia was not.
I tried, I just forgot to push the thing, but
Reyna's just preserved that way.
yeah.
Because she has to think about it first, and then, makes sense.
I am also most interested to know what allies he has out in this region or near this region that are providing him with his supplies and all of his men.
Well,
It is troubling.
I give a nod to Bela, like I have a guess, but I don't want to say it in front of the Lord, so.
There is never a shortage of broken and bloodthirsty men to be found in these mountains. Everyone for 1,000 miles knows that these hills are a place for a bad man to hide and find other bad men and try to make himself their leader. It is no coincidence that there has always been a Vulture King. let us simply hope we will cut the career of this one short and soon. But I've heard units of Stormlanders deserting, units of Dornishmen deserting, all manner of other troublemaker and brigand being seduced to the area. They are like an avalanche, the armies of these Vulture Kings. What might start with only a few boulders grows and swells until it becomes something that must crash against the walls of some castle or another. And it would seem it is my ill luck that now it is Kingsgrave's turn. And all that does jibe with the history of the region. It's often been like the Vulture King as a cover for Dornish rebels that just want to go fuck around with Stormlanders, or vice versa. It's a way to have plausible deniability if people go north across the border and, you know, murder a bunch of people in their sleep. You go, oh, they're Vulture King, wasn't us, right? So some of it's that sort of, occasionally over the years, some Dornish cunning in that way has been passed off as Vulture King, when it's just men not wearing sigils. But it has also just been a recurring thing for, as they always say, 1,000 years or more. Something about these mountains draws blood. In several of the old, you know, stories that you hear from great grands, the mountains used to not be red. They used to be, you know, pale, gleaming marble and yada yada. But there's just been so many men killed in them over the years that now even the soil has changed. And
Yes, it's
so,
nothing to do with the iron oxide at all.
So nobody has the geology chain from the Citadel, I see. I like the
All
story,
the
though.
footprints. Well then, we will go forth to gather the most fresh intel from our scouts, and we'll make plans for waylaying the armor shipment.
yes, yes, of course. Do take care. I know not how House Manwoody, sorry, out of character, he wouldn't have fucked up the name of his house. House Manwoody can thank you even just for what you've done already this week, but know that the men have noticed your successes and your continued efforts. None, save an old fool who may yet lose his leg, have been lazing about this week. All of Dorne and half of the Stormlands are watching you, and remembering perhaps that there are yet dragons among us. Go, make your preparations, eat well, rest when you can, and may the Seven ride with you on the morrow.
Thank you, my lord.
A curtsy. And out we
Yep.
go.
As we leave, so Bela, a gold dragon says that armor's coming from the Ironwoods.
You know, I'd actually be surprised, but I could see that happening as well. Like, I don't know. It seems like far away from their loins. I'm not sure what it would get them.
Yeah.
I mean, I still don't trust them as far as I could throw them.
Well, of course not.
You can't trust an ironwood. I just don't know. Like I said, I don't know what their gain is. What's their benefit?
Sticking the boot into us.
How?
Well, when we stepped up of our forces and they basically did what was theirs, any losses will be losses to us, won't it?
Well,
Yes, never underestimate someone's capacity for petty vengeance, sister.
yeah. I would say perhaps for this particular shipment of armor, you could be correct, but like just in general, the amassing of people and forces, the Ironwood couldn't be behind that.
Yeah, no. I just think they're not as big of enemies as this Vulture King as they would like to be made out to be.
Sure.
Like Luke says, it could be them hedging their bets in a way.
Yeah. Or to try to embarrass us.
Hedging their bets.
Well,
I know.
yeah, that was pretty clear. When they said there's a few green boys and nothing else. Yes, I'm not proposing we march down to, their castle, demand justice. I won't be surprised if we see some familiar markings on armor.
Yeah. Agreed.
So we ride it tomorrow then.
Yeah, tomorrow we go after that shipment. I turned to Adam and said, I know recently you've gotten back on the horse, as they say. And how do you feel about joining us?
Well, I'm able to ride again well enough, though not without some not perfectly, but I'm with you no matter what.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that.
The more uneven the terrain gets, the more uneasy I will be, but I'll do my best to not let you down.
All right.
Let our young cousin encourage you to do something you're not uncomfortable with. You don't think you can do it.
Which one?
Wow, any of them, but
Well, I know what he's talking about.
Adam,
The one who keeps saying I can't ride and all this kind of
Yeah.
Can't ride, can't fight, boring, all these other things.
Awful at water fights.
Yeah.
I imagine it will be easier to use your bow on horseback than it will be to ride up into melee. Hopefully.
Oh, definitely, I'm a far better archer than I am swordsman.
Exactly. So hopefully that will make this a little bit easier of a stepping stone for you to get a little bit more comfortable again.
Bela, we brought war lances, right?
We brought what? I'm sorry?
War lances?
I'm sure. Absolutely.
Yes.
You can get a hold of some mundane gear like that, yes.
Cool.
We need to pick our ground wisely on where we ambush this supply chain.
Find high ground where possible, definitely.
We won't have a whole lot of options, although I agree.
If we can get on top of a ridge or something, even better.
Yes, both are correct, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Because you keep in mind we have to actually make physical approach to it, so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But certainly starting with an arrow volley from above is generally an advantageous start from what I've read and seen.
Absolutely.
Well, if we have 200 archers, I would. Well, no, with the way you shoot, I still think I agree. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. If we can bring some guerrillas with us to help lay our ambush.
What you know of the coming armor shipment and what you're able to glean from the last scouts and riders to make it back to Kingsgrave is that the shipment seems like it's got to be headed for a particular mountain pass that is due east of here. And from there, they're going to come out and like hug the mountains, going north a bit to where the Vulture King's camp is even now beginning to swell. So you know basically where it's going to be. But to kind of go with a meta-narrative, Again, you're not going to be able to just drown them in archers and go, ha ha ha, I kill all of them and their horses with artillery fire. Because we want to be a cool chase scene where the PCs do the heavy lifting.
When does our airstrike come off cooldown?
Right?
About a day too late.
Damn!
Sorry, in the trial by 7, you guys could call in.
Why did we even invest in the ion cannon, you know?
I know.
You guys were able to call in Oris.
Oh, yeah, the strategic force,
during
right?
trial
You're
of
right.
7.
Yeah, we used them all.
Yeah, but that has limited number of charges.
Oris isn't an airstrike, he's like heavy artillery.
Yeah.
There's the ion cannon, yeah.
So, but what we're going to be doing is, that sounds like a fine plan. A flurry of arrows or spears from above, and then riders charging down to intercept. But just so you guys know, out of character note, your plan is not going to work all by itself without a dope-ass chase scene. Because that's how the wagon wheel rolls. Because, yeah, that's just more fun. And I want to give you guys a chance to show off some horsemanship. Because you haven't been making very many of those rides, except those of you that actually rode in the riding contest, because even then it's not necessarily a lot of horsemanship roles that go into the joust proper. So let's show off them horses. And you lot also got some new horses lately, and you'll be able to bust out those bad boys and do some work. But yeah, you're able to make plans, and there'll be a small unit of scouts and archers that will come with you and can soften up the outriders and hopefully injure or kill the horses that lead the wagons. But as you finish making those plans, what do we got for tonight's roleplay? Anybody wanting to go hang out with anybody real quickly? There's no necessary visit to the Maester's tent, and has been the case all week. Everyone's coming and going. There's a ton of work going on. Everybody seems busy doing everything. But there's maybe time to find people and go just kind of check in. So we have any thoughts there?
Go ahead. Sorry. I'm just trying to hit the Jeopardy buzzard first. I don't have an answer.
We should do our work and then have a lovely meal and then preferably get laid.
How about that?
In that order.
So who are
Well,
you
it's
picking
pretty
to
easy
get
for
laid?
yours to say yours is tapped right now.
He's probably around here swanning about with a lovely cape.
Well, he always has a lovely cape.
Sometimes he has a lovely cloak. Sometimes
What?
he has significantly less than that.
Yes.
Rhaena's like, no, keep it on.
Did Bessa come with us?
Oh
Hides
God!
the- It hides the butt.
I mean, that's Look, it's not as bad as the chaps one from
But
episode
then you
11.
can lift it up.
No taps.
No. That's our version of no capes. No chaps.
The Sand Girls. What were their names again? I looked at my notes here.
I have it here. Just a
The
second.
ones that you are taking with you, or
Elia and Obara.
Yes, Obara
Yeah.
is the older of the two. She's in her late 20s and is pretty big. Not in a way that implies that she is the bastard of Oberyn Martell and Robert Baratheon, but she kind of reminds you of Maya Stone.
Well, in my fic, she is.
She's the same sort of big boned and burly and rough around the edges and not very concerned with social norms and kind of dresses and walks and acts like a man in ways that even most Dornish women don't. Like, she doesn't wear cute little silks and all that. She's like, no, she just wears like brown riding leathers and stuff. You know, like you cannot imagine her in a dress, and you get the feeling that probably nobody but her father could even suggest it with being a fight, right?
Yeah. I'm not bringing her like a little evening wear dress.
Sure.
Hang on.
I'm just reminding you guys kind of who she is, and then
Yeah.
there's also Elia Sand, who is known as Lady Lance. No one calls her that as much as she calls herself that, but everybody's figuring out their labels at 14 and 15 years old. So she is inordinately proud of the reputation she is getting for staying in the saddle. She is a little more girly than Obara, in that she is also a notorious flirt. She enjoys coyly looking at men, especially when another sand snake or her father is nearby. And she's like, haha, go ahead, kill yourself. Kill
Try it.
yourself. Look at me back that way. See what happens. Maybe we laugh. Maybe we poison your family, right? So she enjoys being kind of teasy like that, but she always smells of horse. Like every time you guys have seen her, not when you were little kids splashing around in the pools, but in the last few weeks, it doesn't matter like what she's been doing. She just always smells of horse flesh and hay. Like she spends most of her time in the saddle or hanging out in the stables. It's just kind of a cornerstone of her identity. So she is known to be an excellent rider. She has gotten in a couple skirmishes, but this is going to be her first major battle.
I think we found Mrs. Luke.
Like you disarm her, so we have kind of a fun thing going on. But yeah, I'm gonna bring the girls basically a couple wine skins and just hang out. We'll talk about tomorrow and joke around a bit.
Okay, so you're going to be looking for the sands. Who else are people going to be looking for? Let's work up a list, and then I can decide where everybody finds everybody.
Okay. I'm going to go get some food from Bessa, because whatever it is, she's going to fill me up, right?
Yeah,
And
it's always a good option.
then I'm going to go and look for people like, I don't know, Balin Swan, maybe.
I was
Just whoever.
You know, just tossing a name out there.
Really?
I didn't think we brought Bess. I thought she was still.
Oh, I
in
don't.
dress.
Oh, did we not? Okay.
Yeah, she stayed at home.
Oh, damn.
She's got a Ziploc bag full of her rolls.
Oh, that would be a hell of a power move, taking our cook into battle.
She just helps everybody carb load the morning of. She's
Yeah.
out there on the
Like-
battlefield.
Knocking guys out with her enormous tracts of land.
We could probably get half of the enemy army to defect with her food.
You know what? That like
The other half horse can kill, and then we'll call it a day.
yeah, I think that's a winning combination.
So Bela is going to go find herself a snack. What's Rhaena going to be up to?
I'm also
Finding
going to
herself
find
a-
myself as a snack. But Barrick.
So for the record, on my little notes just now, it's Bela food, Balin Swan. Like in order, she's gonna get something to eat and then find Balin Swan.
Mhm.
And then the next line is Rhaena food, Barrick Dundary. So she's looking for something to eat, and it's gonna be it. And what is Adam the Archer gonna be up to?
By the way, Luke's the one with the reputation here. I just want to point that out.
Yeah, you know, not living up to that reputation at all. You're letting the side down.
He's an innocent boy who's been mischaracterized by his own actions.
I know.
Well, if it isn't the consequences of your own actions.
Damn, I hate those.
So Adam, what is our young archer shooting at?
Right, well, I mean, feeding oneself is important. So that's probably going to happen. And we'll probably combine that with making sure that Oris has had something to eat as well. Because we've found now that food is a language he understands. And that's an excuse to talk to him, because Adam's been trying to talk to him all week, but everyone's been so busy and not in the same place for more than a couple of minutes that he's had like nothing more than like an acknowledging nod on the way past at best. So he's wanting to actually exchange some words, and then probably kind of after that is going to be like practicing riding and shooting at the same time until it gets dark, because this next mission's a big deal and he doesn't want to fuck it up. He might like ask for like Edric to kind of come along and help him with that.
Okay. We're actually going to start backwards, and we're going to go with Adams first. You're able to find food just fine. You lot, as visiting nobles and kind of leaders of this alliance, can either sit down and pseudo-feast in the hall, or you could just like brazenly wander into the kitchen and grab what you want, right? Or you could just gesture negligently to some servant, stop what they're doing, and have them go get you a plate of food. What they're doing might be important, so like don't just do that for fun. But throughout the week, you've been able to get food delivered to you to like the Solar or wherever you need to be, in the Maester's tents, yada yada. So getting food is pretty easy. You do notice that this is not feast style food though. Like they've busted out kind of wartime ration type of food, which is just kind of a gruel with chunks of meat in it, so that you get both fiber and calories and a protein, and it's stretched out pretty far. There's a few tasty garnish things for highborn folk, but kind of everybody's on wartime rations. Yeah, what's up, Ash?
I mean, he is prepared to steal a fruit or something, but not for himself.
You can't just make it that easy for me, Ash. So yeah, you're able to get one of it's a kind of flat low bowl of meaty gruel. It sticks to your ribs, and yeah, there's pears that aren't maybe the best you've ever had, but they taste really fresh compared to this kind of greasy, sloppy gruel. But you were able to definitely fill up just fine. Next on your list, however, was looking for Mr. Oris, and he is actually not present. A lot of not quite troops, but like the support troops that Beric Dondarrion brought down from Stonehelm, they've been doing some work to defend Kingston and to try and shape the battlefield a little bit. And they're setting up where Bela is going to be deploying the archers ahead of time. They're getting that and like putting in a little bit of trenches and some field defenses and stuff like that. And those laborers are actually staying the night up in Kingston. And the last time anyone, just asking around, the last time anyone has seen Sir Oris, he had just wandered off with that lot, carrying about 3 guys worth of stuff as he made yet another trip. So it looks like a lot of those guys are just kind of working overtime and are going to be staying there so they can get an even earlier start in the morning. So you do know Oris isn't hurt. You know Oris isn't out on a combat type of patrol, but they either they are putting him to work, or he is more comfortable doing manual labor than being treated as a knight, or both. So he is AFK.
So the end result is I've got an extra pair, like a spare prick, so...
Away from King's grave. Got it.
And then we're actually going to say that Adam and Reyna find Beric Dondarrion and Lord Edric Dane together. because the two of them are sparring in a corner of the courtyard that they have claimed for their own as the highest ranking motherfuckers here. Like they actually outrank Lord Dagos Manwoody, except that they're in Kingsgrave. Like either of them are from like larger, more prominent houses. So they're just like, listen, we want this space. Cool, thanks. And now people are like working around them. They're not dicks about it. It's off to one side and all.
I've got a
but
big, expensive RV there.
yeah, their tour bus brought them to the RV where they'll be hanging out. But you see that they are practicing, and Lord Beric is actually fighting, well, both of them, with greatsword-sized wasters. And young Edrix is not an Edric Dane-sized greatsword waster. It is a greatsword-sized waster that he looks to be growing into and training for. And you know that that's not how Lord Beric fights that you have seen.
But Dawn is a great sword, isn't it?
Dawn is a great sword.
That'll be why.
Yeah,
Adam
he's
knows.
gotta
Adam
be
knows what's up.
We'll watch. At least I will.
They are both absolutely competent at what they are doing. You know that it is not Lord Beric's preferred fighting style, and it's not how young Edric fought in the Squire's joust, because for the joust he had shield, so he used it. But the footwork is solid. It's a very Westerosi style, northern Andal fighting style that Beric is teaching him. It's not the same footwork as the Dornish style. There are a few less distracting flourishes of the blade, and a lot of the Dornish greatsword fighting style is built on a lot of half-swording it, wherein you basically turn your greatsword into a spear, because Dornish folk love them spears. So it's very definitely a kind of Stormlander flavor of sword fight that's a little bit different than what you have been trained in. Not that you trained hugely with a greatsword in particular, but you absolutely know what you're doing with it because it's the same long blade specialty as your longsword. But yeah, they're both perfectly competent at it, even if it's not their favorite. And they're just they're not even really going at it so much as practice this parry and this riposte. All right, again, you know, and it's you get the feeling that they're doing it because it's a routine. It's a calming thing for them more than let's brush up on our greatsword shit, right? It's just like this is a way to cling to some normalcy at the end of a workday when we've both been running around, you know, looking after troops, etc., etc. So, yeah, it's almost relaxing to watch them, you know, going at each other with long swords or with great swords for a bit. But before too long, Lord Beric declares the lesson at an end and strikes a pose, leaning on his greatsword waster, sticking the tip of the wooden sword into the ground and leaning on the crossguard rakishly. Is absolutely posing for Reyna. Edric, meanwhile, slings his sword up over his shoulder to take it over and lean it against a wall, and fetches a pair of wineskins and gives one to Lord Beric, and then he just kind of sidles away to go over towards Adam with the other wineskin so that Lord Beric and Reyna can be alone. And I will let you two decide, do we want to pick up with Reyna or pick up with Adam?
Well, she outranked me, so she can go first.
Oh, we're not gonna park for it. Okay, I will go first. I will. Well, that looks like a bracing bout.
Indeed, I fear I may yet train him too well. He hasn't beaten me very often yet, but it won't be long.
Well, it's not exactly your usual type of fighting, so he will probably be beating you rather soon.
And if anyone was born for wielding any sword ever, it's that boy in Dawn. He doesn't see it, but I think he will.
Well, I think the fact that he doesn't see it is why it is so true.
10 years from now, he'll be a hero. Mark my words.
It's a bit long. I think he's a little too rambunctious to wait that long.
When discussing knights and squires, eager is generally the preferred word. Rambunctious is for puppies. Bold works. Lord Beric the Bold. That has a rather nice ring to it.
Oh, I love him.
Bold one.
Yes, Reina the Rambunctious.
I am far from a puppy.
If there's ever been anybody set up so well to hit it out the park.
Tomorrow we ride against the armor train. I hate calling it a train, says Felicia, because
Caravan.
trains aren't
Well,
actually-
that phrase does predate the usage for locomotives.
This
Alright.
is true. Yeah.
So yeah, tomorrow we will waylay the wagon train of armor and we'll take it for ourselves to use against its intended recipients.
Indeed, I do believe I heard a little something about that. Someone happened to be telling my young squire over and over again that Lady Lance herself was going to lead the charge in
Could that
capturing
be?
this convoy. I suppose I should have known that the Nymerians would be going along with her under her command.
Let's not say that close to Bela. She may have to spank a lady.
Fight.
Well, let's go find Bela then.
This captain's like a very dark turn if Bela just straight up murders her.
No, I wouldn't do that.
I don't think that
Girl.
girl would be happy.
You heard what she said.
And as he jokes about finding your sister so that she'll spank an attractive young girl into submission, he cheerfully offers you his arm to go for a walk.
I take it.
All right then, you two and a wineskin saunter off into the sunset.
It's okay if we fade to black, yes.
Don't worry, we'll LARP later.
This is my life.
I was hoping somebody would be taking a drink when that opportunity arose, but
Yeah, it was a pretty good chance it was going to be me, but he got unlucky.
it looks like I almost killed Ash anyway, so that's probably for the best.
Oh.
You wanted me to call him Sir Garland the Darling the other day.
I don't know what she's talking about. I would never do that.
God, she's a liar, clearly.
Actually,
I
real
didn't
quick,
think I was going to need my fan today.
like especially when you said Oris was somewhere else, just like being all sweaty outside of eyesight, I thought I'd be fine.
That, I mean,
all the-
when you said that legitimately worried me.
Real quick though, Ash, what are you drinking? Is it one of the Game of Thrones whiskeys? I just saw something brown in your glass.
Oh no, I was drinking White Russians,
Okay, it
which
just
I will be refilling at the break.
gotcha. The glimpse I saw looked like it might have been a whiskey color, and I know you
No.
got that assortment of what, like 6 or 7
Oh, yeah.
a week or two ago. Oh,
Right.
okay. Sorry, I underestimated you. Don't be offended, King Robert.
Yeah, like that was a lot of money I sunk into that, but I now have all 9 of the Game of Thrones whiskeys.
I do this every day, as far as you all know.
So, all right, we will then transition to Adam, as he and Squire / Lord Edric Dane are probably both mildly bemused, watching your sister walk off to get Dondarrioned.
Rusty. Stop.
It's a
No.
verb.
Rhaena's name will be what? Lightning Rod, or is that for something else?
I am not commenting. I'm just going to show you guys my stickers. Hopefully. they'll
Oh, wow, they're cool. Very nice.
Yeah, they're not showing up real well, but it's a House
Cool.
Targaryen sticker and a House Dondarrion sticker
I mean,
that she got.
I mean, if it,
I'll say the front of your computer looks exactly the front of mine, though.
Yeah, there we go. We can see it a little bit better.
I mean,
Oh
I,
yeah, oh nice.
I mean, I was going to suggest the theme song "Ride the Lightning" if it wasn't about lethal, if it wasn't about execution.
I guess depends on how you interpret it.
Anyway, you're embarrassing me.
Also, Ash is a family program. So
I mean,
just, you know.
just because we're playing a family doesn't.
And let's be
That-
honest.
That ship has sailed and sunk.
I'm glad it's just not the I wasn't turned out this way.
Tune in next week for our brand new family-friendly episode of The Sopranos.
Let's just remember, a family show in Westeros covers a lot of ground that it doesn't in most
Yeah.
settings.
Game of comfy chairs.
Uh,
No, we went past the comfy chairs in our first arc.
But I'm now just imagining this whole thing done with Sesame Street puppets.
well, now I'm distracted too. Thanks, Anna.
Sorry.
Right?
So, young Edric is taking a drink from some watered-down wine, which is how Stormlanders hydrate after fighting. It's just kind of half wine, half water.
But
The
he's
Gatorade
Dornish.
time.
Sorry, what was that, Ash?
But he's not Stormlander, he's Dornish.
Right, but he's being trained in how to be a knight by a Stormlander.
True.
So you are certainly able to take the initiative for this brief conversation. Before, because I heard earlier you were going to launch some sort of plan for him to help you with.
Yeah.
But I don't remember exactly what you wanted him to do.
But-
So
but
now's
yeah,
your
no-
chance.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to just launch straight into it. There are, you know, when first he's going to like, Adam's like come out with like a pair in each hand, and like because now he does not the person he's going to give that other one to is not here, so he's going to offer it to Edric. I've got a spare one. Do you want it?
Oh, yes. And he offers you the wineskin in exchange.
I will take a drink of that.
And he wolfs it down. You get the feeling that they probably haven't had supper yet, and they've been out here training for a while, so that pair is gone in like record time.
Also, you know, teenagers. You fought very well there. That was impressive.
Not well enough, but I'm working.
Well, it's a much bigger sword than you fought with at King's Landing, so you'll get there.
I need to be better than good. If they give me it, I need to live up to that. No one's wielded it since Sir Arthur, and that makes some heavy steel.
Ned, I have no doubt that you will absolutely fulfill that role with distinction.
Thank you. Kind of stammers it out a little nervously.
Yeah, I believe in you, friendo. But I actually had a small request to make. With the I'm told by my sister that tomorrow's sortie to intercept the armor shipment is going to require archery from horseback at speed, and while I've certainly gained a lot more confidence since Blackhaven, I haven't really done that specifically. I was wondering if you might like to join me in practicing.
Oh, of course. I'm not a very good shot, but I do pretty well in the saddle. So
That's more the part that I feel I need some pointers with.
of course. Let's go to the stables, but I found a way to get there that doesn't go where your cousins have set their tents up. So maybe we could get past Lady Lance if we go this back way.
Good idea. I don't think I could really stand another lecture why my riding is terrible, why I'm boring and things.
And he gives his peach. Is it like a core for a peach? I know it's an apple core.
For a
But, like,
pear, it's a core. Yeah,
Or yeah, so for a pear.
they're similar to an apple.
Yeah.
An apple.
He gives his pear core a little toss. He goes, "Let's hold on to these in case we run into it."
Good idea.
So the two of you can whip half-eaten fruit at her.
Girls are
Uh,
eating, right, guys?
Okay.
And even if we don't get to do that, the horses will.
So we will let you two fade to black of an entirely different sort. You are able to make it safely past Lady Lance, as she is nowhere to be seen, and you're able to just get some practice time in the saddle. He is not as reassuring about it as Lord Barrick was. You can tell Edric isn't practiced at teaching someone else, but he is just a pretty good rider for his age, and he's also just kind and decent, and that goes a long way into filling that gap of being an experienced teacher versus not.
Yeah.
So yeah, you guys are able to while away most of the rest of the evening. He's impressed with your archery because he hadn't really seen it much.
Yeah,
You know, he
I'll
was,
probably make a point of showing off Heartpiercer to him because Adam thinks it's like the raddest thing.
It kind of is, though. So,
like, it's fair. It's pretty dope.
yeah. Made you jealous.
It's very rad.
So you two are able to while away the rest of the evening, getting in some practice, and we will take care of that. But then our drone cam is actually going to like swoop away from those two who are prepping their pear cores to throw at young Elia Sand over to Elia Sand. We're going to skip Bela in our order here. We'll wrap up with her. And we'll go to Luke finding Obara and Elia as they are leaving the stables. And you can see that Obara is kind of standing impatiently and rolling her eyes as Elia is giving the final of her special instructions to some stable boy about exactly what to feed her horse, etc., etc., etc.
Make sure you're very specific with this one. He's very lazy. And I look at the stable boy, serious for half a second before I laugh and crack a smile.
He looks like maybe he's terrified. Like that's the vibe. Like they might kill me now. Everyone's heard of this fucking family. Fuck. Right? It's that kind of look. But yes, he is frantically nodding at Elia with her hands on her hips, and she is putting on a clinic, and she's about to ask to speak to a manager at like half the age, that you should start that. So she's just like enjoying the browbeating.
Having worked at minimum wage, I feel really bad. So Luke is gonna hand him suddenly a gold dragon for his troubles. being the butt of the little joke, and then just kind of goes back to what he was doing.
Elia turns her wrath on you as the stable boy scampers off with more money than he's ever had before.
Yeah. Who's gonna do that like grandpa thing where you shake someone's hand but you leave them money?
And he goes, why did you do that? He didn't even do it yet. And you don't... he doesn't even know what to do with that much money. Oh. Now he doesn't even have to do what I said. You paid him in advance. He's not gonna feed thunder at all.
He'll do it. Did you see the look of terror on his face when I made that Jake?
That's why you didn't have to pay him.
Didn't have to, but I figured I should. So.
Sand snakes don't buy things. We take them.
Or get other people to buy them for us.
And she also strikes a bit of a pose, like, just like she knows that somebody somewhere might be glancing this way after she dropped a cool one-liner, and she's like, looking off in the middle distance.
Luke laughs like to play along, but it's also very funny to him. And he goes, "Would you two care to take these wineskins off me?"
Obara reaches out and takes both of them. And one she slings over one broad shoulder, and the other she does this with, and just holds it up out of Elia's reach. And she's like, I'm the oldest, I need to sample it first. There are people that would love to hurt Father by hurting us. I need to make sure that you're safe.
She's not wrong. Obara, the one you're holding is watered down a little bit. I was going to give it to her, but sample it.
And she gets to drinking, and Elia gets back to some feisty pouting. And then, as Obara keeps drinking, Elia loses patience. She goes, what did you want anyway? You should want our horses well kept for, and us at least half sober, Obara, for tomorrow.
I do want those things, but I figured we could also have a few drinks and have some laughs and have a good time before we ride.
Did you hear that, Obara? You're supposed to give me that drink. He is a knight. And they commence to some bickering that you suspect is not at all new to either of them.
And now I have a little sister, I feel.
Yes. And we will fade to black with you lot as well, as you will be able to hang out and talk spears and talk saddles, and
maybe 20% strategy, weapons, fighting, 80% just joking around.
That sounds delightful.
And then we will swing the camera about to find the leader of the Southern Alliance. Oh, go ahead.
I will say if Luke has any like stories of their father that might be funny to tell them, he might share one or two. But other than that, mostly what we talked about.
Most of the stories about Prince Oberyn that make the rounds aren't terribly funny. So much as there's a lesson to be found somewhere about crossing him, or whatever.
Exactly.
Don't.
I mean, that said, like, sand snakes do probably laugh at those stories. Like they also have their own reputations for that.
Yeah. I want to make clear, those and what Luke was talking about are not mutually exclusive.
So yeah.
And then he stabbed him in the eye. Oh, it was...
So you lot are able to pass a pleasant enough evening, which brings us to the leader of the Southern Alliance, looking for her prospective husband, potentially, depending on how several conversations go with several people. And he is found in the actual feast hall where Bela goes looking for food. He's sitting there. And he is at a table with Prince Oberyn Martell. And the Stormlander and the Red Viper are still occasionally eyeing one another warily. But there is no mistaking the fact that they are both heavily bandaged. And that's probably why they're both sitting down at all instead of being out there doing stuff. But they're sitting across the table from each other in not quite companionable dinner mode, because it's a Stormlander and it's the Red Viper, and also because probably by this point battlefield gossip has gotten word to Prince Oberyn Martell that one of his nieces was proposed to, because he's giving Sir Balon Swan that look, the appraising look that he gives someone right before they get murdered or challenged to being murdered. And it's just kind of this quirked eyebrow, I'm not impressed by you, I'm not even paying attention to my food, but look, I'm still hitting my mouth with it. Just this like smugly superior, utterly Dornish look that Sir Balon Swan is not sure how to react to. Because for most Stormlanders, like prolonged eye contact is seen as enough of a threat that, like, you're both drunk enough, you turn it into a fight, right? Like, you're able to turn this into a brawl, or
It's a good culture.
you know, it's just they're pretty straightforward people, and he knows that he's being like sized up and intimidated a bit, but he also knows that like he's hurt pretty bad from that greatsword still, and he also there's no winning a fight with the Red Viper, because even if they did, he go, oh yes, let's brawl. Oberyn's gonna go for a poisoned dagger, and even if Balon does survive the brawl, it's gonna be because he had to kill your uncle, and that's not likely to help matters. And so he's just got this look of like I know I'm gonna lose this match of Sivas in like 3 moves, so I'm just not gonna move a game piece. I'm gonna eat my dinner. Ha! Right? Like, so
The
That's
only
the-
way to win is not to play.
yeah. So that's
Also,
It
it's
sounds like
Dorne.
Bela. Go ahead, Ash.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, like it's Dorne. Prolonged eye contact can go in another direction entirely.
Sounds like Bela has her first damsel in distress to rescue.
So I get my food, and then I sit down next to my uncle, and I say, Uncle, Sir Balon, how are you, both of you feeling?
Sir Balon makes a point of kind of straightening up a little, instead of like hunching to lean on the table and help his torso from damage. He makes a point of kind of sitting up straight and squaring off his shoulders and matching the profile that you are used to with him. And to his credit, he does not wince about it. And to his credit, he refuses to acknowledge your uncle's smirk as he does so. So like he's doing pretty good for himself. And he goes, Lady Bela, I hope you will not mind if neither of us rise. Your uncle is injured, and I would not wish to shame him.
It's fine, stay seated.
And you see your uncle fight a big grin of like, okay, maybe he's not so bad. like that was definitely a point scored in a positive way. And then he goes, yes, niece, we do not wish to stand and cause a blundering Stormlander to spill his drink and waste fine Dornish wine. I'm not at my best. You may remember arrows,
Yeah.
but my evening has greatly improved. How goes the war effort?
It's been going fairly well. We were able to make contact with Sir Win and bring him into service once again. It seems there was some problems with the reliability of communication due to the Vulture King.
He may have read a book or two. with enough archers, there are no ravens that can survive. And a single rider seldom makes it where he is sent in Dorne, no matter how short the journey. I'm glad that you were able to work things out between them. I have heard of Sir Edwin and his time in the rebellion. He fought well for a northerner.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm glad to have him with us. Unfortunately, he lost his wife in the confusion, and he seeks vengeance for her death, and for that I've granted him the leader of our vanguard for the big fight. Thought it was well justified.
Good thinking, niece. Let him put it to work. And his men. No doubt they loved her as well. That tends to be how things go with ladies from the Westerlands. They'll love anyone, and anyone will love them back. But enough about northern women. And he gives Sir Balin another, challenging look, and then seems a little pleased when he doesn't rise to it. He goes, I suspect you weren't sent here by Maester Ferris to see to it I finished my gruel. So, I'll leave you to your other conversations. And he rises and takes his almost finished plate and leaves you and Sir Balin Swan alone.
Wow.
Have a good night, Uncle.
Left alone with his niece. That's a pretty good sign from a Glowbird.
That is definitely positive.
I say a good night, Uncle.
If it is, be gentle. I remember hearing something about a great sword. He says as he saunters away, leaving Sir Balin absolutely blushing, with his Andal pale skin turning beet red, and he doesn't know how to respond to that without it being a fight. So he just eats it. He just stuck sitting there swallowing it down.
I laugh and I say, sometimes you just have to let those things just roll right over you, and laugh along with them.
Yes, I suppose at times it's best to let the viper bite and then slither away. They do sting a bit, though, if we can be honest.
I'm sure they do. Growing up, it was the same thing. So I know that you're newer to it than the rest of us. But really though, how's your injury?
It's fine. The rest of me, perhaps not so much, but yes, the sword cut is feeling quite sword cutty, I suppose.
Oh, I love it. Makes poets of us all.
And you can tell he's trying. He's been hanging out, getting bantered and jabbed at by the Red Viper, all night, and now he's like, Lord Beric told me this is what they like. Maybe it's working. This is what Lord Beric said he did to get I gotta try. So he's put in kind of a good faith effort, but he knows he's not that. So yeah, he puts forth an effort and then chokes down a roll to try and take it back. So kind of how it goes.
So tomorrow we're going to go and intercept a shipment of armor and have it go to our side instead.
Sound strategic thinking, my lady. The Dornish are as clever at war as they are with words.
Yeah, well, she kind of gets a little bit nervous herself, not really sure what to say, and she takes a big gulp of her wine.
I've also heard the Vulture King's army is beginning to make camp, and that it may be day after tomorrow that they've finished amassing. I will be ready by then. I may not fight my best, but I will fight my best. And he's like solid eye contact with that last bit of like, I won't be at 100%, but I'll give 100% of what I got, right? And it's like really heartfelt and romantic. You think is how he means it.
Of course, I completely understand. I'm sure there will be glory for all of us to be had on that field.
Indeed, and spears aplenty that we'll need to earn it from. Good to know that some of them will be less armored, though. Yes, that will be good. Very, very good.
Yeah, hopefully can have a little bit more of the giving than the taking, if you know what I mean.
This is so awkward. It's adorable.
He almost chokes on the other half of his roll. I'm sure that I do. Please don't elaborate when wincing makes me wince. So, but yes, good luck on the morrow.
Oh, thank you. If that wound is still hurting, perhaps we could see to those bandages.
And he sits like real still, like, is she gonna kill me for this? Is she gonna kill me if I say no? Is she gonna kill me if I say yes? Is she actually just like the lady commander of an army that wants to see the bandages? And am I worrying over nothing? Oh God, how long have I been worrying? Right, like you can almost
Opposed to a Dornish girl, this is what you get.
like you can almost like see the like water wheel turning, because they didn't really have like gears. But yeah,
Who knew that Surveillance Swan would also be an overthinker? I can heavily identify with this right now.
Ash is just like, Adam would also be terrified if a pretty lady wanted to see him without his shirt on.
Yeah, though for quite different reasons. Interesting reaction. What does it mean, though?
Yeah, I need to think about this for years.
I need to go to my room and write about this in my diary.
I mean, journal. My journal. It's a journal.
Men have a journal, damn it.
He sits there, kind of stock still, like mid-bite, for a long moment until he realizes how long a moment. And then he remembers that, like, maybe you're gonna die tomorrow, maybe you're all gonna die the day after tomorrow. And he, like, settles his spoon back down on his dish of gruel, and just heaves himself to his feet, showing a bit more exertion than he would like, but he stands up and he says, I think that would be quite nice.
Very well. I just finished the take one last bite of gruel.
It's time we say hello.
And I get up and I say, after you.
If he was Lord Barrick, he would say, like, no, you're certainly going first. But he's not. So instead, he will just leave with you. We will cut it there. Are we doing a sexual tension PG fade to black, where you actually just see to his bandages and, like, he never forgets that night? Or are we doing, like, an R-rated fade to black where more than that happens? Because I legitimately need to know for my notes, because that's the type of campaign Rusty runs.
Okay,
Things like that.
It's the latter. The the R-rated version.
I didn't want to assume, but
Well, I mean,
all right.
It's kind of a
Somewhere.
trope of, like, once a woman has tended to a man's injuries, it's kind of inevitable.
Somewhere backstage, Luke is high-fiving Bela.
Probably
To
not
be-
during the proceedings.
To be clear, part of the reason I'm noting it is that I haven't yet made the healing rolls for Sir Balin Swan.
Oh.
So I need to know the level of physical activity that he is taking part in before attempting to remove that wound. So, Maester Ferris may not be very happy with you.
That's fine.
But-
We can
but
have that
Swan
conversation.
very happy.
So yes, that will be our final fade to black then. And with it, I think we're going to also fade to black of the totally G variety, perhaps PG-13 in the Zimmerman household, because Felicia got that booty dough. And we will be back after a break of about 10 minutes-ish. So we'll see everybody in a little bit.
Okay, bye.
All right, everybody, welcome back from our own less carnal fade to blacks. Instead, we all just got drinks and snacks. Uh-oh, now
Yeah, speak for yourself.
I can
made-
keep rhyming
I
with...
made 2 questions to save me a trick.
We are going to pick things up basically at the start of this dope-ass chase scene. I thought it would be exciting, and we do what I want. Grr. So we are going to pick things up with the hand-picked group of archers that Bela, and no doubt with some advisement from Adam the Archer, have chosen for this sort of thing. And as some arrows go raining down on this short enemy convoy, the young scions of House Nymerian are also launching themselves like arrows, most of them with spears or lances leading the way, as they go charging down a mountainside of red stone and sand, and come racing at this kind of abbreviated caravan. What you see below you is a rider out front, kind of leading things on a pretty fine-looking horse, maybe some other general of the Vulture King, maybe just a successful bandit that got a really good horse from somebody. You know, a lot of their stuff is taken. And he's up front, and then you've got 3 wagons that have about 3 or 4 guys on them. They tend to have a guy up front, a guy riding shotgun, and then in the back of each wagon, kind of facing the rear, is 2 more bandits, and they all have spears or crossbows, except for the one with the reins. He probably has a weapon within reach if he has the chance to use it. And you also see a half dozen outriders that are kind of spaced out with each wagon. So each wagon has 2 cavalrymen with it. And then you've got 3 wagons with bandits and a bunch of stuff in them underneath like oilcloth type of covers, but they're heaped up pretty high, and you suspect that there could be a fair amount of armor and who knows what else under those oilcloth half coverings that are bundled and holding everything down. So what I would like to do is break you guys up by those 3 wagons. So in the tense moment a minute ago, when you guys are getting ready to charge, how is Bela ordering people to disperse and go for these 3 wagons?
Okay. I think if we can get the first one to stop, we can probably get the rest of them to stop as well. So I'm going to go towards the front. Is there someone who'd like to come with me?
I'll go with.
Okay. Elia and Obara, would you go towards the middle of the two?
They both give you nods. Elia is blessedly silent for the moment.
And Reyna and
Most
Adam
of it are with us.
work on the final wagon.
Me and who?
Me.
Adam.
Me and you.
Okay.
We. Sorry, I nearly said we're going to take. You've just ruined perfectly innocent sentences, Rusty.
I don't think you can pin this on me.
You didn't do that one.
Yeah,
Sorry.
just get in there, really penetrate the rear. So you ride hard now.
So, all right, we have Bela and Luke charging towards the first wagon. We have the sand snakes veering a little to one side and charging straight at the outriders of the second wagon. And then we have Adam and Reyna drawing aim and or lining up their horse with the third wagon and its protectors. So, let's roll initiative, everybody.
Not forgetting the armor penalty.
So, Luke is clearly, you guys can tell as he begins to ride off, injured, because he reacts relatively slow for himself with a 12 to initiative.
The armor penalty just comes directly away from your result,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah, you total it up and then subtract a couple.
6.
7.
Okay, I don't feel quite as bad now.
11.
Yep, got that.
My initiative's like ridiculous to begin with, so don't compare to me, compare to them.
So give me 1 second as I get everything in order. Because we're actually going to be starting with some bad guys. Let's hope that that was the best roll that they're going to get in today. But they pretty much aced their initiative. My default bandit outrider group here.
Well, I want it clear. I'm wearing clothes and armor today.
Well, I guess the volley of arrows maybe alerted them to our presence.
All right. So first off, we've got. We'll just kind of do it in what makes sense order. The ones with ranged weapons versus the ones not. We've got 3 viable ranged combatants per wagon. We're going to say 2 of the 3 can attack this round as they're hollering and like turning to get oriented and stuff like that. So they're gonna lose a handful of attacks in this kind of quick flurry of activity. But let's have a couple crossbow bolts go flying at a couple of people. There's one.
A coward's weapon.
Do you mean ranged attacks in general?
I think
Or-
maybe you're just mad because you couldn't concentrate on
Right.
training because you were looking at your aunt inappropriately.
Yeah.
Listen,
I would-
I got a dice. Well, now I have 0 dice in it, I guess, with the wound. So,
A crossbow bolt goes sailing by Bela's horse, which makes it start a bit. That's going to cover for your 7 initiative. You're welcome. But yes, it is a miss. And yes, Felicia, it does modify your combat.
I'll have you know, for my initiative roll, I rolled what is average for my dice. Right?
Yeah.
Does
pal.
that really make it better?
I don't know. I'm just saying. It's not like I rolled poor.
All right. If you're just saying, I'm bad at that, not I rolled poorly, I don't know if that's maybe the ringing endorsement that you mean it to be.
It's,
So,
I'll
that's
spoil
the
the
first
armor.
shot. The second shot is a pretty gnarly 16, which was pretty dang good for this dude. and a crossbow bolt goes thocking. Sorry, this is the second wagon. The first two are misses. A crossbow bolt goes thunking right into the polished round copper shield of Obara Sand and into her side beneath it, but not deeply enough. She seems terribly bothered. She just kind of throws her arm for a second and tears the arrow out of herself with the bolt stuck in the shield. So you suspect it is a flesh wound that is not going to quite be an injury or anything. And then there is another miss there. So unfortunately, Elia did not get shot into silence, Adam. And then we have a whopping 5 and a 6 as the shooters in the back open up at the eldest and youngest Nymerians. So their wagon hits a bump just as they are preparing to fire. Yeah, the NPCs soak the good roll out of that handful of them. So good job. You brought along some ablative armor. And with that, we will go to Luke at 12. To get to the wagon, you need to defeat both outriders, is how we're doing this. And every round after this one, you guys and the bandit wagon drivers are going to be making ride checks to make sure that you are able to keep close to them. If their dice completely blow up, you guys will start to be left behind and will need to play catch up. As long as you guys are fairly close, because I'm also gonna not do like fucking algebra, and actually compare the top speed of a wagon versus your horses. So instead, we're just gonna basically give you guys a free degree of success worth. So they need to beat you by 5 or more for that distance to start to matter. Is that making sense to everybody?
Okay.
Yes. And then potentially we're just gonna do that same sort of roll off. If these bandits decide to just try and get away, if an outrider tries to just run off and you want to chase them down, it'll be contested ride rolls and that sort of thing. So we're gonna go with cinematic chase rules instead of math, because this game has enough math. But Luke, you are up first.
Okay, but there's no rivers nearby, all right?
No, they aren't seahorses.
Okay. Yeah, one of the outriders, I like to basically ride against him and stab him by lance. So.
All right. You will be able to close the gap cinematically for freebie on this turn. Now, this is not a tournament charge type of affair, so you're rolling
So, war charge.
Yeah, well, it's a normal attack against his normal combat defense. It's
right.
not defense based on animal handling and stuff. So, all right, go ahead. Roll your attack dice, and don't forget, you have bonus dice for animal handling. Is this a charge, or is it a move and stab?
Mechanically, it's a move and stab. I've already down a dice, so.
Alrighty then. So yeah, fighting plus appropriate spears. If you don't have 1 die in spears, you take the penalty for the weapon training.
No, I haven't. I've got a 10 of dice, but I don't keep that many. Fortunately, I've got 2 6s and a 5, and it's a regular spear, so that is a 17 to hit.
Okay. That is
a regular lance, not Castle Forge.
Gotcha. So we got that. What's your damage rating right now?
It's a 7. And any other bonuses the turning lances have, I think were just, I don't know, they're nasty. So, war lance.
Right. Not at a charge, they do not. And I don't think you've got any dice in strength, because they do have the powerful. But that is still a lot.
So.
And you run and you punch right through his shield. They've got shields and cloaks of a drab brown that almost looks a little uniform on some of these guys, and you recognize it as some of the kind of heavier bandits that you've seen. And you're like, these cloaks aren't necessarily a uniform, but they're definitely using the kind of coloration of the terrain with drab brown and the occasional red sash that you've noticed on a lot of the Vulture King's men. But
See.
they also have shields, those shining copper shields that are popular in Dorne, and mail on. So they're not wearing piecemeal armor like you would expect.
Yeah, they're pretty heavily armored.
They might have just armored up from the wares instead, but you notice that they're pretty heavily armored. But that is still a solid shot on this guy. Punches right through his shield and into his mail and into his shoulder, and he rides past you in the meantime, and his full defense did not work out. So first blood goes to the bandits, but it's a pretty solid shot coming from the away team to start things off. Which brings us to Reyna at 11.
With my shield and my sword, I will charge.
All right, so an actual charge attack, not a move and strike, correct?
Let's open with that, yes.
Okay, I love you.
Don't yell at me.
I'm not yelling at you. I'm shouting to you.
Going back to voice activity, so we're not in private.
So,
Alright.
don't forget
Fighting.
fat stacks of bonus dice for all your animal handling dice, but then you're going to keep one die less from the charge.
I need more dice. Holy crap, I did not think that would be a problem today. Forgot about the animal handling dice. Alright, that is a fat stack. I'm only keeping my fighting, right?
Fighting -1, because you lose one die for the charge. But you tend to keep a lot of very good rolls, or dice, in mounted combat. It tends to be very swingy that way.
Yeah. Well, it's shite, that's what it is. 13.
Unfortunately, this one is able to bring his shield up, and you do leave a bright and gleaming scar on it as your sword skitters across, but the blow does not connect.
I don't know if you can't see. These are like all ones and twos.
You're going to drop them if you try to show them to us, but we all believe you.
And I have 2 4s and a 3. Those are my keepers.
It happens sometimes.
Oof.
And that brings us to the lead horseman. He is going to turn with a crossbow of his own. And 1 second. All right, that is that plus that. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba. All right, Bela, you take a shot from a big old crossbow that this guy has, and you are hit for 12 points of damage that ignores 2 points of your armor.
Oh, wow.
So you are going to be armor 6, so that's going to be 6 points of damage coming at you. And this guy kind of pivots in the saddle and goes thunk with a pretty big, heavy crossbow, and then he just puts spurs to horse, and a pretty magnificent-looking sand steed beneath him starts to chew up some territory, and he lunges ahead of the rest of the caravan with metal armor gleaming beneath his cloak, as the cloak is whipping dramatically behind him, etc., etc.
Oh, I take that as a challenge.
And conveniently enough, Bela is up next at 7.
I'm gonna push as well and come up and attack him.
All right. Because he went first and is riding away, as opposed to the Outriders, which are forming up defensively for the wagons, we are going to kick this off with a riding roll. Most people didn't have to do that until next round, but you're going after the guy that's actively hoofing it, literally. So we are going to have to go riding roll on this guy.
Okay. Alright, I have a 13.
Okay, he is able to keep ahead of you. You have both lunged ahead of the caravan and are now in a chase, which you can drop out of at any time if you want to fall back to the caravan. But you are definitely outstripping that wagon. Yeah, you're not quite able to close to melee. He also is just on a faster horse than wagons and outriders. So you two are going to be at it for a while, kind of dramatic like. And that was that said, you are not falling behind. He's not gaining ground on you. He did not have an actual extra degree of success to start to get away. You just weren't quite able. You're going to need to get 1 degree of success on him to close to melee range. The good news is you don't see him at all even working on trying to reload. And it's a big ass crossbow.
Okay,
so
well
it looks
that's
like he's
good.
not necessarily going to just kite you, at least not with that crossbow. But yep, you two are now going to be italicized and pulled away from everyone else in my little chart here. As we go back to the weest, but the archeriest of this lot, and that is going to be young Adam Nymerian.
So, I think it's about time I did some shooting. So, let me just get my requisite things. Okay. I am ready. So, yeah, just gonna go for it, I guess.
Alrighty.
Yeah, gonna try and kind of like ride round the back and sort of shoot at them as I'm moving around the back to try and sort of take them by surprise a little bit, hopefully.
All right, and which guy are you shooting at? You've got 2 outriders. One of them is engaged in melee with Reyna, and then you've got from the back you can shoot at either of the crossbowmen in the back of the wagon.
Crossbowman, definitely crossbowman.
Alrighty, so we are going to say that this is dude number 3 on that one.
Yeah,
So all right,
they're quite deadly, so yeah. That's a load of rubbish. Wait, have I got a... No, I don't. Right. Oh, so... So... 15 bypasses 1 armor rating. Yeah. Damage
alrighty. So 15 against this guy who does not have a shield. And it was damage rating 4 base? I know you
damage is
just-
4 and it bypasses 1 armor.
Right. So 1 second. 12, put that down. Alright. It is a solid shot, and he looks down kind of in shock already, like, that's not where arrows go. And it's a solid shot near his hip, but he's able to kind of slump against the piles of stuff behind him, and he hurriedly continues reloading his crossbow. So it wasn't quite the solid shot you wanted. As is often the case, fighting for real is a little bit different than shooting at targets for practice. You feel like in a round or 2 you'll get that adrenaline and get used to the chase and
Yeah.
start
Yeah,
dropping fools.
Yeah, like especially because like just like charging in, like he's had that thing in the back of his mind of, oh yeah, you're like the ground's going to collapse any minute and like everything's going to go horribly wrong. Yeah.
Yep. And that wraps up the round. The Sand Snakes have engaged with their Outriders, but I'm not going to tell you exactly how that goes because you guys are all busy with your own shit. And that loops us back around to Bandits / Outriders. Their crossbowmen are shooting light crossbows, which means it's a lesser to reload. The good news is they can't aim because they're busy reloading their crossbows. But the bad news is they get to shoot. So we're going to have the crossbowman in the front wagon is the only guy that can do anything at all to Bela. And you're still not quite out of crossbow range in that chase of just like one round of racing away. So he is going to send a shot Bela's way that misses clean. Just kind of an uncomfortable reminder that you have put the entire enemy force behind you, but you're also riding really hard, riding really fast, and the shot does not connect, excuse me. That leaves 2 archers to shoot at Lucaris. That is a 16, which will in fact be a hit. So that's going to be 10 damage coming at you, Luke, and it ignores 1 point armor. So your armor drops to 8, so you're taking 2. But it thunks against your armor, doesn't quite get through, but it's going to leave a bruise. And then the other guy in the back of the crossbow, it hits a bump just as he shoots. And the highest of his dice was a 2. So he actually shoots it down just between his feet. And it goes off like as he's done reloading it and starting to lift it up. And it just thunks right there. And he looks a little frazzled. The second wagon, we got some fools shooting at sand snakes, which is just a losing proposition the longer you think about it. And the further you carry that action down a timeline, like there's no good end for you. Like the best outcome is you kill them and then their dad comes after you. But they don't seem to be thinking that way. All right, that is 3 misses. 1 glances off of Obara's shield that she angles a little bit better. And the other 2 are both clean misses that just fly into the dirt or snarl on travel cloaks or that sort of thing. And you hear Elia whooping with joy at getting shot at and being missed, which you guys know is a fairly exhilarating feeling. But you imagine
being hit.
Yeah, and it's probably especially exciting at 14 or 15 years old when you're pretty sure you're immortal. So that takes care of that, which brings us to wagon 3. We are going to have 1 crossbow bolt go flying straight at Reyna with a 14 to hit, but your armor will take care of it. So glances off your shield. It's a close thing, but you trust in your smith. And then another 14. So the exact same fucking thing happens. So you're able to hunker down behind your shield in this scrap and do okay. And then Adam will get hit, but again, it's just that much. So nothing that gets through armor. So it's another kind of near miss. Luckily, they have piercing 1 instead of any more piercing. So you get 1 free success from them, but once they start getting degrees of success, you'll start to take damage. But right now, that was a good one. You're able to angle and twist, and it glances off your armor. That, however, does leave the Outriders that are now going to do some work. So, 1 second, as they start coming at Luke with spears. That is a 16, which is not a terrible hit.
No, they aren't holding back, are they?
Yeah, we're getting pretty good 4s and 6s a lot from these dudes, as high numbers. So one sec as I math, because their damage rating is different with the spear. That's gonna be it's 10, so 1 point that gets through your armor.
Okay.
So the armor
It's an
is,
add up.
yeah, but the armor is currently paying for itself very nicely, and the second one is a mist, so you're able to parry and or shield block that one. 2 outriders messing with sand snakes. This guy made the mistake of rolling well enough to hit Obara, but not to do meaningful damage. So he's
Ooh.
just making himself a priority. Is
Yeah,
all.
he better just cite his own
Yeah.
death warrant.
That's not. He just needs to quit what he's doing. All right. So that skirmish continues, lost in the dust of the road, and then we've got 2 of them stabbing at Reyna as she tries to take on the 3rd wagon. 14 is a hit, but the damage will not get through. And an 11 is a clean miss. So 2 stabbing spear attacks coming your way that you're able to either parry or catch on your shield. And then we circle back to Luke, who is trying to carve his way to the 1st wagon. You've got 1 grievously injured outrider that is in your way, and then 1 unharmed one that is also now cinematically in melee distance. They're
Okay.
kind of lunging to attack and falling a few steps behind. Like, you guys are kind of jockeying for position, but in melee distance.
Yeah. Am I too close to use the lance and get my regular spear, or is the lance still applicable?
I'm gonna say spear, mostly because the lance is built for charges and it's got
Yeah.
a pretty high bulk rating. But I am gonna say that you can just draw your spear as a minor action, like even if it's supposed to be more than that for a full-size weapon. Like, so you can get it out, pretty quickly. And if you want, you can say you just left the lance stuck in that dude. That's pretty fun.
Yeah, I would have let go of it at that point, or dropped it. So I guess it's still in him. Doesn't like that, I'm sure. How badly injured does he look? Does he look pretty hurt?
He looks like he might be wounded pretty badly.
Well, I'm going to turn my attention to the unwounded guy. I'm going to try to put some dice penalty on him as well. And I'm going to attack him with my spear.
Alrighty.
Just a regular attack, not an actual charge. I'll move up to him and stab at him with it.
Yeah, like I said, nobody's... Well, I guess if Adam decided to charge in, Adam could still charge. But the rest of you are basically all melee range, so no charges at this point. And also, Bela, if you catch up to that dude, it could be a charge. But yeah, the rest of you are engaged, so it's just going to be hits.
Okay. Luke pulls up unnamed Castle Forge spear. That's the name of his sword, of his spear. And I've got a 17 with the +1 bonus on it.
All right, that is a pretty solid shot. These guys do have their shields out. What's your damage rating with the spear?
With the shield in, it's 5.
All right, okay, so I had the right thing in my notes. I just want to double check. So that will be that much damage. Okay, you are able to stick him pretty good as he is overextended from his own spear thrust. You're able to kind of catch it on your shield, lift and push him a little twisted awkwardly offline, and you get him with a solid gut shot that leaves him grimacing in pain, but still in the saddle. Which brings us to Reyna on initiative 11.
Alrighty then, I have 2 on me. I don't have a preference as to which one I will strike at first. So keep that in mind. And I will. Oh, I can aim. So I'm not charging.
Yeah, once we get to the point of riding to keep up with wagons alone, that minor action is going to be a ride check.
Right.
Uh,
For now.
But for now, yeah, like you can kind of focus your attention on that guy pretty well.
All right then. That's what I was. 17. 16. Still at a -1. I have an injury.
No, injury went away. Yeah, injuries got healed. Or
17.
yeah, injuries can heal in a day. Wounds are lingering. But your injuries should have been all healed up, I thought.
Taking it off.
Yeah, if not, you should have gone back to the Maester last night, and an extra day of healing would have still gotten rid of it.
I was busy last night.
All right, you have 2 new injuries, and Lord Beric has a bit of a strut.
Oh. Different.
All right,
17.
yep, so 17. And your base damage is 5, correct?
Yes.
All right. He is recovering from his missed strike on you, and as he's leaning back and getting ready for another stab, you take the momentum with your sword, which you can attack with in ways that a spear can't, and you're able to land a wicked cut on his spear arm that leaves him painting the Red Mountains red. So a solid shot. He is still in the saddle and grimacing in pain, but you think it's the type of cut that will pay dividends. Which brings us to the leader of this convoy, who is going to try and pull ahead of Bela. And Bela, since you are up next, you want to go ahead and we'll just make these kind of opposed ride checks,
Yeah.
and we'll see what happens.
Ooh.
How big are your D6s, woman? Damn.
They're waiting.
Okay, so but still, it's not like a comically huge one. That was just a
No.
resounding thump.
Are those 12-sided D6s?
They are.
Some people just want to watch the world burn.
They are called double
He
sixes.
knows no rule of man, only what
Yeah.
she prefers.
So it's a 12-sided dice that has 1 through 6 on it twice.
Nice.
They roll better.
Okay, 2 extra 6s.
Half,
Yeah.
half of me's like, cool, half of me's like, ah!
Like, no, that's not the most. It's not the most efficient fraction.
That's a D12. That's a D12.
It's supposed to be 1 out of 6, not 2 out of 12. What are you doing?
Listen, I roll a D12. I just added anything above a 6 is a 6. It's the same.
I think
Ah.
we've established that Eric is a maverick.
So I might have used all of my luck on this roll for today. I have an 18, and if that's not enough to get me over that hump, I can pick up another 5 by using a destiny point.
Okay. For the record, did you get a castle-bred horse? Because
Yes.
on these rolls, you do get to add 1
Okay.
for that.
Well,
So is that with that or not?
so I have a 19 then.
19, potentially 24.
Yeah, I have 3
Just
6s and a
making sure.
5.
All right. It will not make it unless you do the destiny point.
Okay.
But if you do spend the destiny point, you will be able to close with this guy, and the 2 of you will be in melee range starting on like his turn next round.
I don't
So
even get the
right-
first attack
right
then.
No. Right now
Oh,
you
man.
are keeping pace. If you spend the destiny point, you will pull up alongside and get into range.
All right. Well, then I have to do that. Yes.
All right. So you both lean low over the necks of both of them are very nice looking sand steeds. His is just kind of a creamy off-white with a little bit yellower mane and tail. You are beating him a little bit at a time, just enough to catch up, and you feel like you will be in sword strike distance or spear stabby distance for better or worse in a matter of moments.
Great.
Adam, who is not in spear or sword strike distance, on
Nope.
initiative 6.
Right, I have 2 questions. One, can I aim?
Yes.
Okay. And 2, does my having a superior horse help with anything?
It will if you need to actually make a riding check for stuff. But yeah, it's not like an always on bonus for anything in this or everything in the set.
That's fine. Wait, I forgot this dice. Okay, that helps. Right. That is actually quite good.
Yay!
Right. So. 29.
Almost got him.
Really? Jeez, oh, that was a really good roll and still only almost
Yep. He's combat defense 30. I told you guys these guys look like they're pretty well equipped. No, he's fucking dead, Ash. He's very dead.
They are all Spider-Man.
He is very dead.
scaring me like that, man. Don't. I was like,
Yep, no.
who the fuck other than the mountain has like 30 combat defense?
Alright.
So yeah, was that the injured one or the other one?
I think I was concentrating fire and trying to like take them out one at a time rather than
Yeah.
trying to fight 2 of them.
Sure. Yeah, that one is a solid headshot. It thunks into his skull, someplace that arrows don't go in normal anatomy books. And
Anywhere.
then he comes tumbling out of the wagon, under the hooves of one of his best friends, and yeah, he's dead. He's very dead.
Don't try and make me feel sympathy for him.
I'm just
We're all
saying
not best friends.
that horse could have hurt himself, and that would have been on you.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have felt bad for the horse.
That does, however, loop us back around to bandits. And we're actually going to start at the back of the wagon train with that guy's archer buddy there in the back of the wagon, looking rather aggrieved and shooting at Adam the Archer. That is a hit. I don't really think it gets the... I think there are times that he started it as a legitimate defense.
I mean, I came here to have a good time, and I'm honestly feeling so attacked right now.
That would be because you are being so attacked right now.
You are being attacked by arrows.
I couldn't resist the Mean Girls code.
That's fair. That is another hit, but your armor is able to absorb it. So you're able to duck and flinch and stuff just enough that it scrapes off, but it was a close thing. And you're not feeling great right now. Remembering how it feels when those shots aren't a close thing. And remember how it feels when you ride a horse too fast in mountains. So
Yeah.
Adam's not in a great mental state. But
Probably clinging quite low to the horse while he reloads.
then a second shot comes in and it's a clean miss. But yeah, the guy up front is like standing and facing backwards, bracing on the pile of armor and shooting in your direction. So 2 crossbowmen shoot, 2 crossbowmen miss. Let's do the, let's just keep working our way from the back. Because we've still got 2 dudes that are trying to stab your sister. So let's go straight to them. That's not a bad roll at all. But it is going to be, yep, that's 10 points of damage coming at you, Reyna. So 4 that will get past armor. So the uninjured guy, as you're recovering from your slash across your body over on your left, comes up and gets a stab in. Not quite a back stab, but it's definitely the you weren't paying attention this way stab. And that's gonna definitely leave a mark against, big old bruise against your ribs from it. And then wounded guy rolls pretty well for himself, but is down a die, and that is a miss. So you're able to use your shield kind of on your left and keep him blocked as you're twisting in the saddle to handle that guy. Wagon 2. Okay. Nope. And uh-oh.
I don't like the sound of that.
Uh-oh. That is blood drawn on Elia. It is an injury on her. So
Oh,
not really sure who's gonna be able to even see that. But yeah, she now has a crossbow bolt that went slinging past. She's just wearing hard leather armor, in very Dornish Desert Raider fashion, with a couple extra like little sashes and cloak type of things attached, so it flows in the wind. She's got a ribbon on her lance, and you know she's playing up the whole kind of Tusken Raider look, kind of half Tusken Raider, half one of the gals from Mad Max Fury Road, right? But it is now splashed with red as a bolt has torn a gap in one of her biceps as it sailed past. He will likely regret that pretty soon. And then Wagon 1, we have a pair of outriders that both suck on account of blood loss is a very real threat. Yeah, so Luke, you get a couple of shots coming your way that you are able to parry either with shield or spear. There's those, and then the crossbows, also a miss, and the other crossbow is also a miss, and then the guy actually riding shotgun is also a miss. So a flurry of crossbow bolts goes sailing perilously close to your confused melee of man and horse flesh, but none of them strike home. So Wagon 1, the combat is over. 3 already finished, 2 we got done. That is all the bad guys, which brings to Luke at 12.
Let us help Rusty by reducing the number of bad guys we have.
Yeah.
I mean, that's on you guys. I can't really directly help with that, except for things.
Yeah, the guy I just stabbed, I'm going to continue to attack him. I will take an aim action if I can and stab away.
You can.
So many dice. I get to keep so few of them.
the struggle is real.
2 6s, a 3, and a lot of 3s and 2s. So that is going to be 16 altogether.
All right. 1 second as I put up my file. So you know and can make an informed decision. If you spend a destiny point, or I guess you could spend a fatigue point to ignore your wound penalty, if you do anything to get an extra 2 points, that will drop this guy.
You know what? I forgot the fatigue points. That is an excellent mechanic to use in this case. I will do so and keep another 3.
All right, so you exert yourself extra hard, and you are able to pierce his mail with a shot that then, coupled by using the spear as a lever, tumbles him from the saddle about as uncomfortably as you can be tumbled from a saddle, and that guy is out.
Excellent.
Okay then, Reyna at 11, going from the front of the caravan to the back.
Both my dudes are still with me.
They're never going to leave your side. They're in it for the long haul. You have seduced them totally.
Quick, betray him.
I'm going to betray them right now. Well, actually, it's not betrayal. I'm just maintaining the expectations of our relationship.
Are you attacking
That I will end it.
the wounded one or the unwounded one?
A wounded one.
Okay.
Is it much better crawl? Uh, 21.
good news for him is that his hurting has stopped.
Yay!
Describe how you killed him, smitten as he was.
I had slashed his arm the last time, ruining, kind of fouling his spear arm, and so this time he's not able to protect that side at all. So I just kind of leaned over and slid my sword right between his ribs.
All right. Now it just sounds like a shotgun. Like little, like
That's
she,
what I was thinking.
yeah. Like Adam's just gonna add on some mechanical lever he can work on his bow before he fire, just to make an intimidating shotgun sound. Cool. So yeah,
Black
just
powder.
make the noise with just make the noise with his mouth, because to try and sound cool.
So yeah, that guy falls from the saddle, and Adam, you're able to just jerk with your knees enough to the side to not trample him and risk your fantastic castle-bred steed turning an ankle.
He's got a name and everything.
It is a grim reminder of the dangers of this sort of chase. Which brings us to Lead Horseman, who, as you are now close enough to get a look at him, he's got that Dornish style, not quite turban face wrap like they did on the show, and his is of silk. It's like a fine yellow silk that still kind of goes with the drab brown of the rest of the stuff he's wearing, but it's pretty dashing. And you can see that he's got long sandy brown hair flowing out through it, and you can see that he's got a sword, and oh god, it's coming right at you pretty quickly. So he turns as you get close and does like a draw and a strike sidelong at you. And 1 second, because his is a fat handful of dice, because bad guys also get to add their animal handling to their fighting rolls.
Yeah.
Sorry, folks, I got my Discord app crashed.
It's all right.
No worries. Come on, let it not be too horrific.
Just so you know, he rolled 10 dice
Mm-hmm.
and gets to keep 5 of them.
Oh
That-
gosh.
That's a bit long.
Why,
Tends to be a
why does it seem like so many people we face are much better fighters than us? And
Yeah.
I just remember these warnings.
You guys are a whole party, and sometimes bad guys need to be
Better. Yeah.
adjusted within moderation to account for
Oh.
that. But maybe this guy's just pretty good at this.
Yeah.
No, here's the answer. Challenge rating.
Ow.
Yeah, I guess like the Vulture King's not going to be hiring crappy mooks or anything.
True.
That
I
is
mean,
15 points of damage coming at you, Bela, from this powerful overhand strike that you kind of just have to ride into by virtue of trying to catch up to him. And he actually like tugs the reins for just a heartbeat. So he's got that momentum of his horse breaking a little bit, just adding to it. This guy knows what he's doing up here.
well, I know who Bela's killing next.
And that's 15 before armor, to be
Yeah.
clear. I did not factor in the
That,
armor.
I was treating it that way, and
Yeah, sorry, who wasn't? Yeah, he hit you for 87, but no, it was 15 points
Oh.
before your armor. So
okay. So I'm afraid that's going to be 2 injuries.
Yikes.
you're okay.
It's tough because like I don't have like any endurance, so like 1 injury is only like 3 points, and so 2 injuries is 6 points, and I've already taken 6 damage points.
Yeah, I
So-
forgot the initial lucky crossbow bolt that you faced.
So like
yeah, it's a pretty solid shot.
yeah,
But you are up next, and you are now in close enough that you can actually aim before you give the old stabby stab.
Oh crap! I'm gonna have to re-roll one of these because I only have 10 in my hands.
As problems go, that's a good one to have.
So
I just don't have enough dice.
So I said with that writing roll, I used up all of my luck, and I was on the nose.
No.
I have a 14.
All right, that is not at all a bad roll. Sorry, 1 second. my stupid word screen. I needed to go down one line to see that stat on him. So I was just like, fuck. I
So,
was so close.
Only 3 of my 11 dice were above 4, or above 2.
Yeah.
Only 3 were of the 11 were above 2 on the die.
Wow.
All right, and you are damage 7.
Yeah,
with
I am
Sunfire.
damage 7.
Piercing. There's a piercing 1,
1.
right? Okay. Some damage is gonna get through, because there's no extra degrees of success. But you realize he's wearing a breastplate beneath that. It's a pretty good breastplate, but it's not a Valyrian steel breastplate. And Baelin Ivarian ain't nothing to fuck with. So it is not the hit that he gave you, but you do connect solidly enough to get a pleasant jolt up the haft of your spear, and it's not a completely lopsided affair.
Yeah. So on this, Bela sort of realizes that like she's not going to be able to take him on, and so she just like lets him go on ahead because her objective isn't to murder this guy; it's to get the armor, and she risks a bad injury if she tries to take on this guy.
Huh.
Okay.
She just got willpower points.
Like okay, so like out of character, like mechanically, I'm outclassed, especially going second in these hits.
He rolled well and you didn't, and sometimes that is enough to decide a fight, like in an opening shot.
Yeah. Well, the next attack will be a wound on Bela. Is like realistically, the next attack will be a wound on Bela.
Probably. I mean, because rolling 10, keeping 5 tends to be pretty good, but yeah. Like I said, he was keeping very hot dice, and then yours were kind of limp on the comeback. So bad dice happen. It's okay, and this doesn't necessarily mean he's getting completely away. I am just now going to start tracking degrees of success, basically. People will have the opportunity to try and go chasing after him still.
That's the guy. That's from the Outriders. Is the guy with the wagon?
This was the lead rider.
Okay. Yeah, if they run off, we don't need to kill them.
But just so you know, Erica, I'm proud of you. That was. I know that's hard for Bela to do.
It's hard for Bela and it's hard for me because I want to kill him,
Right.
but
yeah.
Bela recognizes that it's foolish to keep on this.
Yeah,
Like-
mounted combat is very swingy in this game because most people that want to get in mounted combat are literally rolling like twice as many dice,
Yeah.
and that just raises the average a fucking lot. So yeah, it tends to be
Yeah.
like knights rule for a reason. I like that they made mounted combat
Yeah.
really good because it also adds to the Westerosi feel of.
Yep. And I didn't
yeah.
build my character to be like amazeballs at doing this. So like my good dice pools are not always enough to keep up with the amazing dice pools of
I think you'll find
Specialized.
several knights in King's Landing that will disagree with your level of amazeballiness.
Yeah.
But
So I used good tactics and such to sort of cheese that a little bit. But
Take a compliment, Erica.
okay,
You beat 2 Kingsguard in fights.
yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of just take a compliment, it's Adam's turn. In wagon 4, there's the driver, 2 crossbowmen, and then there's 1 outrider that's trying to kill your sister. So you've got your choice of several targets.
Right, how bad is he roughing her up?
I don't know. How bad's he roughing her up, Reyna? Because you do have a pretty good look at that fight.
I've taken damage, but I haven't had to take an injury
Okay.
yet.
Right, she's fine then. I'm going for the crossbowmen because they're the deadliest if they hit things. Okay. Whoa! Alright, oh shit, my dice are running away from me again. Oh my god, that is terrible.
So we'll say this is the crossbowman in back. He was the closest to your last target.
I
So
think,
kind of the easiest to go against.
I think this might be the worst roll I've ever done. Because that is 7 dice and 5 of them are 1s.
Dude,
That's
exactly what I was
a pretty
going
bad
for.
roll.
Horrendous.
Oracles!
This is my own physical fucking dice.
Yeah, but you still curse the dice god Oracles.
They're
when
my
that happens.
Chimerian dice at that as well. With the
Damn, betrayed.
Hell yeah.
Because
guess Guess the blood of the dragon's just a little stronger in some of you than others. Oh, there we go. Someone's waking the dragon.
It's
His
because I didn't get to like rub Oris for luck.
His next attack will target Rusty, the GM.
So what's our total looking like, Ash?
He had it coming. He had it coming. So 8, it's 11.
All right, that is still a 2nd degree of success on this guy.
That,
So
I'm
some
swapping
damage.
I'm swapping out these dice because I don't trust them. They fail.
That is a hit that is perilously close to him, and he ducks and takes some fatigue damage from the stress of almost getting shot.
Fucking good.
And speaking of that, since we're looping back around to the top of round, let's have him shoot back at you. Because rude. Uh-oh. That might have done it. Okay, so that's that against your that. That is 15 points of damage coming at Adam.
Oh, I don't like it.
And it is armor piercing 1, so your armor will drop by 1 point.
Okay.
Oh,
So
Well, it's not okay. But
yeah, I accept it. Yeah, I believe that'll be 10 damage getting through. Yeah, that guy came back pretty fire.
Scale is
Fucking armor.
well, scale is 6, so -1 from that is 5. Then, so
So 15 minus 5, so you got 10 points to deal with.
I've only got 9 points of health, so I am gonna have to take an injury. And it's minus endurance, is that right?
Right, so you subtract that much damage from the incoming damage.
Okay, I've got endurance 3, so that'll help anyway.
So that gets you to 2 health remaining and 1 injury. But
Okay.
also, that was one of the potential triggers.
I
So,
got the feeling that was gonna be it. Yeah.
Adam has been shot 4 damage during a high-speed chase. He's already having to dodge bodies. So Adam, I need you to make a will roll, and let me know if you have any specialties that you think apply and why.
Specialties.
If you've
Well,
got it.
I do have ride at 1. And I've got animal handling 3, ride 1. I've got courage 1 as well.
Okay.
That-
If it's one either way, it's going to be about the same. But yeah, so go ahead and let's make this a will courage roll. This is not me saying that people that struggle with real life mental health issues, especially PTSD, are relying on courage to overcome it. This is courage as a game mechanic, keeping someone focused on protecting their family instead of their own trauma. Games are imperfect at dealing with issues of mental health, but because some willpower specialties exist in this game, I will let that apply. So, sling them bones and see what your total is looking like.
Oh, right, okay. Where were you? Right, okay. That is.
That's where it was.
Right, that is 15.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't have anything else that is going to help with this at all.
You feel a piercing pain in your chest that is separate from and worse than the arrow now embedded in your body a little above your hip. Like you feel that seizing up, and you start to see a little darkness around the edges, and as you hear and feel the hoofs pounding the dirt underneath you, you realize that several seconds have passed and you're not breathing. But you realize all of that, and even as you start to like tunnel vision, hyper-focus panic, you see Rhaena fighting, and you won't leave your sister behind by panicking and pulling on the reins and getting off this goddamn horse. You are able to keep going and will have no penalty. But you definitely feel a pressure in your chest. Your hip hurts. There's an arrow there now. And you've got an arthritic ache in your bad leg, kind of in time with your pounding heart. That pain is coming back real sharp. So it is an altogether unpleasant experience. But Adam has grown as a person in the last few months, and is able to use those tools and experience to keep going. So there's another crossbowman shooting at him. Let's see if this one.
Oh, this guy. This guy.
That one's a 10. Clean enough miss because you've got enough armor. So you don't even notice the second one bouncing off your armor. You're busy with enough other stuff. So you got that. Oh shit, I forgot the Sand Snakes last turn on their actual initiative. Oh well, we'll worry about that in a second. And then a spearman attacking Rhaena with a 17 to hit. That does hit. It is not an extra degree of success, though. Your armor absorbs it. Feel free to describe it as your shield doing the work, instead of just standing there and like no selling it like a WWE. So there's that. Wagon 2 is good. Wagon 1. Let's do some crossbowmen shooting at Luke. Whiff. Uh-oh.
I don't like these guys.
That's probably not a whiff. A 15 against you, Luke.
That should hit.
It does. And it is enough for a degree of success. So that will be 10 points coming at you again. Piercing 1, so you're taking 2.
Okay, they're slowly getting to me.
Right? It's still just they're battering against your armor.
Luke is gonna be bruised as shit after this, but hopefully he'll be alive.
Shit. And then the next shot is a 17, which is going to do the exact same thing. 2 more points.
I'm at 7 of 12 totally for hit points.
So yeah, you're getting rattled and kind of bounced around in your heavier armor.
I'm glad I brought the heavy armor.
But you're like, hey, this is way better than that time I didn't have a shirt on. Like, turns out there's something to this stuff, you guys.
You wear this all the time.
Yeah. So that could have gone a little bit better, but it could have gone a lot worse. And then you have an injured spearman on you that unsurprisingly gives it a good go, but is not able to meaningfully harm you. But he and his horse are still kind of bodily keeping you from the wagon and being able to attack anybody there. That's just what I made up. You have to take the outriders out in order to get the wagons. I thought it would be a simple way to handle it. So that handles all that, and Luke, you are up next at 12.
I like to forego an aim if I could just kind of look around and just kind of assess the situation, get a feel for how everyone's doing.
Sure. That'll give me a chance. I'll describe the combat going on at Wagon 2 that I forgot to just fucking roll for the Sand Snakes. So you see, just as one of the crossbowmen is like, yeah, and feeling happy about a shot, you see a bullwhip snag him around the neck, and Obara just pull him off the wagon. And then you see Elia savagely jerk the reins of her horse to veer to one side and run him over. So there's that.
I love my cousins.
You see, so that is actually, 1 second. That is 2 of the crossbowmen that are down on that wagon, and one of their outriders is now clashing spears with Elia, who is eagerly like leaning back to the left and bringing her horse back in.
Okay.
I'm gonna go ahead and roll that real quick. Just
Yeah.
initiative with NPCs.
No, it's cool.
Particularly matter.
Her own or not. So.
Yeah, so 1 second. That guy's already injured. Yeah, she drops him. So she tramples one dude, and then she pulls back over to the left with like pretty pitch perfect form, and runs that guy through, and then twists her spear and jerks it free. And before that guy's even slumping out of the saddle and his horse is like running off to one side to be spooked, she is yelling at Obara, I had him! That one counts as mine! About the crossbowmen. So they are down to the driver and 1 crossbowman with no outriders in the way.
Okay.
So they've had pretty hot dice. So Wagon 2 looks like it's been going pretty well.
And Wagon 1 has 1 outrider and 2 crossbowmen left?
All 3 crossbowmen, no one's been shooting at those crossbowmen.
Oh, okay.
Except for the cinematic scattering of arrows, which did spread some damage out on some of these guys. You've got a driver, 3 crossbowmen, and half an outrider remain. Like, that guy's pretty done.
Yeah, I will go for the remaining outrider to try to finish them off so we can collapse onto the wagon.
Alrighty.
Ooh, I'm rolling like Bela did. What do I got here?
I love how unlucky dice has become rolling like Bela.
Oh no, let's not have that be a thing.
I have 1 dice above a 3, so...
Ow.
A 2 above a 3. Okay, so that's going to be 12 altogether. And I like to, I'd actually like to spend another fatigue point and ignore my injury, my wound.
Okay, like,
that.
you can if you want, or you can let me answer.
Oh!
Remember, I like you guys making informed decisions on that.
Yes. I will shut the fuck up for a moment.
That is enough, like, you are right at the extra degree of success, so anything you do to keep less than 5 is not going to help.
Okay, yes, fair.
And just to double check, you're still using your shield, right? So you're damage 5?
So, yes, correct.
Alright, so that 10 points. That is enough to drop that guy. So he is out.
And then kind of cinematically, I bring the horse around to begin to approach the wagon.
Yep, it's mostly a matter of just spurring it on. So starting next round, potentially, Bela and Luke, you guys can try to figure out how you want to stop the wagon. It can be a matter of jumping on, killing the driver, killing some horses, whatever you want to do.
Kind of cool.
But you guys will be starting on that with your next actions, unless you want to like double back over your horse and go after lead horseman dude or whatever. So yeah, you guys are now in the clear to get into melee range of Wagon 1. And that brings us to Reyna at initiative 11 at the other end of the caravan.
Yeah, I was about to say I'm a little confused. I still have another dude on horseback with me, right?
Right, you have one outrider still kind of playing goalie and blocking you from approaching his wagon.
I will take an aim action and I will stab a dude.
Good plan.
Good plan, good plan.
Pointy end goes to the other guy.
Ideally.
Okay. 20.
That is a palpable hit. Give me 1 second as I math. Just so you know, you are 2 points away from another degree of success, but let me do the math and see if you need it. Just so you can think of your options ahead of time. So 1 second. Right now you are giving him a wound. One more degree of success and you would one-shot this guy.
I will spend that destiny point. And I will give the 3. That's 3 is my next die, so.
Yep, like I said, you were 2 points away. You were pretty close. So yeah, you are able to get past his shield cleanly with the old Nymerian effort, and you lure him into a strike. He's off balance. You batter his shield aside with your own. He is unprotected, and it's a clean one shot across the throat.
Nice.
And then lead horseman is up front. He gets +1 degree of success away in the abstract narrative chase that we are doing, which brings us to Bela at 7.
I will return to the first wagon, and I'm going to attempt to strike the driver of the wagon.
All right, so you pump the brakes a little, veer off to one side. If you want, I'm gonna say you can make this a charge. Like if you want the extra momentum and losing a die, just because it's kind of a head-on type of deal.
I'm going to leave it as a standard move and attack, so that I can keep an extra die. Alright, well, I had no such problems this time.
Like, now that it's a mook, here's an 89.
Right, I have a 21 after my penalties.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that's 4 degrees of success with Sunfire, which not many characters can take very casually.
Yeah.
And that's going to take out the driver.
By the way, 20-something, Felicia. That was a meaty hit.
Not me, her. I also had it.
Well, yeah. I bet yours when I stepped away. So I'm used to Balin doing that.
So yeah, you are able to pin him to the seat back for a moment, and then you just angle the spear, and the seat back does not compare to Sunfire, and the seat back and his torso both are torn up as you wrench the spear free, and that is now a driverless wagon, at least for the moment, which loops us back around to the tail end of the caravan with Adam at 6. There is 2 archers and a driver left on that wagon.
Regular archers or crossbow archers?
Crossbowmen. They're all crossbowmen.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to keep going for that. Calling them archers implies skill.
Right?
You know what? I feel like Adam would probably actually use the words "the crossbow is a vulgar weapon."
Yeah, I mean,
But yeah, Okay, he's going to try and pull his shit together and aim at one of the crossbowmen because, well, he just took one of those and it was really not fun. So, yeah, priority is taking them out. Oh, that's a very nice roll. I like that. I would like it if I could keep having these. Right, so that is 26.
All right, that will drop that guy. How do you murder him?
Well, you know what? I like the idea that Heartpiercer lives up to its name and goes straight through his breastplate. And
It does.
and yeah, knocks him back.
Yeah, his corpse slumps against the stacks of armor, and he is no longer moving. So he lay down for a little nap. Which
Permanent nap.
brings us back around to the bandits that remain. We've got the crossbowmen up front in that last wagon, shooting very poorly at Adam. So there's that. The crossbowman up front of wagon 1 is going to try and lunge for the reins, but that shit's like actually pretty hard, and he just stole Bela's dice to roll a 1, 2, 3, and that's not gonna cut it. So he drops his crossbow and is like lunging for where the reins have fallen, but he is not able to grab them. But there are 2 other crossbowmen that are now surrounded and have no outriders, so they're gonna make will rolls. Okay. One of them is dumb and will shoot with a 13 at Luke. That is nothing that will get through armor. But yeah, one of the 2 in the back just like sees you both coming in close, and he makes a big show of tossing his crossbow over the side, like off to one side, so it's not even like a threat at your horses. He just whips it away from him, and then like holds his hands up and starts yelling about the pay ain't enough for this. The other one though shoots at you and misses, and then
Well, that one gets to die.
And then wagon 2, they're down to a crossbowman. And yeah, like wagon 2 is Obara Sand. You guys can see in the distance has leapt bodily up atop that second wagon, and has she left her bullwhip on the guy that she throated and pulled off. She left her spear stuck in someone before that, so she has pulled a knife from her belt and is going at the driver with a dagger, like mid-leap. And you can see Elia pulling up on the other side, and it looks like she was just gonna like stab with her spear, but now there's absolutely no mistaking that she is pulling her feet from the stirrups and getting ready to like climb up on top of the saddle to make a jump. Because if Obara does it, Elia has to do it. So that takes care of that. That is all the bad guys that are not driving wagons. So Luke, you are up at 12. There's one impertinent rascal who just tried to bolt you hello.
Well, if Obara does it, I want to do it. Can I get over there with my spear, or is it too clumsy for that?
Oh, as long as you, yeah, let's say it works. It's fine, because you do have a kind of default spear that has fast, so it's kind of nimble and well balanced and
yeah, it's pretty.
So yeah, we'll say you can go ahead.
Okay, what do you want me to get onto that wagon?
Let's call this an athletics roll. I think. Let me double check. I think it's still athletics for leaping.
I hope it is, because I got a lot of that.
No, it is.
It's either that or it's supposed to be agility. But what you're going to be able to do is add your riding specialty dice
Okay.
to represent pulling up close and stuff like that. But 1 second as I double check if it's agility or athletics that is supposed to. Every week I go over my goddamn notes, and I think I've got everything ready. Yeah, jumping is athletics.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I'm a jumper.
for the record, I would probably also let any of you use agility that want to, because I could see it being described as a balance thing.
Yeah,
but
I get that.
whichever you prefer. So agility or athletics, and then either the appropriate specialty of balance for agility, or jump for athletics, or you can use your ride specialty dice. Like
Yeah, I
whichever.
would take the right specialty. That's
There you go.
that's applicable. So okay. Okay, that's better. I have 5 athletics. I'm keeping 4. I've got 12, 17. I have 1 fatigue, so a 16 altogether.
All right, that is enough. You are able to nimbly pimbly your way over there, and that's your major action, but you have a minor action left over, so you can aim around early and be stabbier next round.
Yeah, I will like to do that. As I kind of land on it, I'll get my balance with the aim action and kind of point my spear at the rascal who thinks he can, defy us.
So you guys are looking for a solid 9 on this, and if you get an extra degree of success, then you'll get that kind of minor action bonus. That was
Well,
Luke at 12.
Yeah, I do want to just color it with, while it probably doesn't look too much like it, all of Luke's actions have been slowed down a bit by the wound he's been nursing.
Noted.
You're doing good.
And that's Reyna at the back. There is 1 crossbowman and a driver. Your wagon is otherwise unprotected.
All right. Are there any alternate methods of getting on a wagon other than leaping from horseback?
If you want to be awesome, you gotta be awesome.
Okay. Well. Okay. Then I will attempt to leap from horseback onto the wagon, sir.
Cool.
So, if this was the Western AU, this would definitely be the train robbery, right?
I'm just hearing the Brothers in Arms track from Fury Road at the very end where they're chasing Lord and Joe.
I'm gonna go over there with my sword, but not the shield, because I can't imagine it working with a large shield.
Okay.
Yeah. If I had to drop my shield to do so, I would have done as well.
Yeah, yours is also a large.
It's small, but
I'm gonna
a
say,
regular.
yeah, you can keep a regular one, but a large,
Yeah.
it's another thing that actually has like bulk and all that. So we're hand waving a lot of the kind of encumbrance rules, but yeah, let's keep that one.
Let's see how this turns out. Don't fail me.
Don't fuck it up.
Oh hey, I did okay.
Yay!
They did really well.
No cursing,
I rolled
so that's
5.
positive.
Athletics plus 1 for ride, right?
Yeah.
That's 20.
Damn!
That is pretty solid stuff. So yeah, you are able to land atop the pile of trade goods, it's armor, and get your feet under you, and you have a bonus minor action, which if you want, you could use as an aim action.
I will
It
do
doesn't
that.
have to be an aim action. You could try to fucking just yell at people or whatever. But my assumption with Lucaris was he was a little stabbier.
Yeah, I figured if he was going to surrender, wasn't going to surrender at this point, my words weren't going to sway him, but, we'll see.
The second smallest of us, so. But I did just leap onto their wagon and killed 2 dudes, so I feel pretty badass right now.
That is extremely badass, and I'm very proud of you.
Right? And looking all Valyria. Yes.
All right. So what is your bonus action going to be? Just aiming it to be ready next round?
good would intimidation be right now?
I don't know. What good would intimidation be right now?
I would like to roll intimidation.
All right then. Who are you yelling at? What are you yelling, etc., etc.?
I'm yelling at these people on this freaking wagon. Surrender or drown in your own blood.
Huh.
That's rude. Go ahead.
Very
sling some
visceral,
dice.
though. So.
Not as good as that last roll, but a 10, 12.
Okay. I'm gonna say that's good enough for an opposed will roll. The driver seems determined to keep on going. Fucking guy. The driver is ignoring you and like he's gonna be able to get away. The guy with the crossbow leaps off the wagon in terror. He throws down his crossbow and he just and you get that Star Wars yell that they use in like every Star Wars
The
movie.
Wilhelm scream.
Yes.
Yeah, the Wilhelm scream that's in basically
This-
like any movie that has
yeah.
a scream has that scream in it.
This motherfucker rolled 111 on his will test. So
he
he's
is,
just
he is in that
like-
pit of
Yeah.
styles.
like
Actually-
maybe drowning in blood has always been his secret fear. Like I don't know, maybe he's like a butcher's son and that's how he used to get punished. And so, like, something deeply rooted in him is terrified by that threat, and he hurls himself off a speeding wagon instead of staying within sword distance of you.
So,
she's-
I like to imagine the guy who hit the reins glances back and realizes she's on the same wagon as him, and it's like, oh, right.
he starts
Go!
starts hitting the reins
Oh!
faster. Like, oh no. Yeah. So there you go. Let's mark that guy out because fucking 111.
Man, if Adam had more presence of mind, he'd probably be following up with like, "Now is the time to reconsider your life choices."
The wall is always a good.
Yeah, you guys go riding past, and Adam's like, "Take the black." Racing.
You be
by.
honorable there.
All right, up ahead, the leader of this convoy gets a 3rd degree of success away, and then we go to Bela. You've got
He's gonna arrive at camp with no armor.
so the wagon is driverless. One crossbowman has disarmed himself to try and become the driver. One crossbowman is surrendered. One crossbowman is currently facing off against your brother's spear.
I think I would like to try to jump onto the wagon.
Alrighty, give me that roll of athletics or agility, and then using either balance, jumping, or ride as you prefer.
Everyone's copying me because I copied Obara.
17.
Well, that's standard.
I have a
He's
17.
gonna buckle with squash, then we have to do it even better.
So what do we got, Erica?
A 17.
Nice.
Damn, good
I'm
rolls.
gonna say that your bonus action, if you want it, can be trying to go for those reins right
Oh.
off the bat.
Oh yeah,
When-
I'll do it.
All right, let me double check because that's actually a different looking thing. The drive skill, yeah. So it's an animal handling roll, but it's the drive specialty
Ooh,
instead of ride.
I don't have that. Okay. Well, it would have been a 10, but with my 2 injuries, that brings it down to an 8.
While I'm thinking about it, do you have any other specialty that you think would apply? Because I could see something like quickness being useful here. Like just
Nope.
take a look. If you've got anything that you think would work, I am as always willing to listen.
Yeah, no, nothing really. I mean, strategy doesn't apply, and then the other things
Seduce
are
him.
even less relevant.
She yells at the range, "Get him a hand!"
Robert, you can't solve every problem by seducing someone.
We'll see about that.
I will remind you though, Erica, if you want to take a fatigue point, you could ignore both of those injuries, and that would get you the 9 that you need.
Oh, then
Because you're that close, I'm
Okay.
trying to I'm trying to help out anyway.
yes, if that gets it, then yeah. Yeah, I didn't suggest it just because it was only a net 1, and I was guessing it'd be like 10.
So yeah, you are able to grab the reins, and starting next turn, you can start doing stuff with that wagon.
Okay.
And then Adam, you are up at 6. There is just the driver left in wagon 3.
Okay.
He's still a driving, despite your sister's very polite request that they stop.
Yeah, he's getting fucking shot then.
Fucking shot then.
Your amusement at my accent never ceases to be entertaining. Okay, that's looking pretty good.
Let's all agree just to learn different accents. We'll meet back next session with various ones.
That was terrible.
Okay, so that is 27, and I guess like for Felicia's benefit, get it up you.
What?
That's what a 26 constitutes, I think.
Yeah, that's a one shot I bet, dude. So he's looking over his shoulder and just whipping the horses like he doesn't know what else to do with his life, and he turns around just in time to catch an arrow in the eye.
Fucking good night, Vienna.
I bet the guy who jumped out the wagon felt pretty good about his decisions about now.
Rhoyne like throws her sword and like throws her arm up with her sword in the air. It's like, yes, Adam.
All right, and then we're gonna wrap up the round with the sand snakes. Obara sticks her knife in the ribs of the driver, and then between that and grabbing him by the collar, just throws him bodily off the wagon. Like she attaches a handle down low and then like uses it to pitch him off the side. And the crossbowman that's still up there riding shotgun lifts his crossbow and aims it at her, and then takes a spear from behind, which leaves Elia off balance, and she tumbles on the armor, but then like hurriedly scrambles to peek up and make sure that she got the kill. And you can already hear her high-pitched girlish voice hooting, "I saved you! I totally saved you! We're even! I saved you!" And unless anyone wants to go riding after the mysterious lead horseman, which you're not going to be able to do on wagons, he is 3 degrees of success away, and I think we've got Reyna and Ash that are still on horseback. And I'm going to say if you get 2 degrees of success away, he will be in bow shot.
I will volunteer to go after him. Oh wait, is that a no?
I mean,
Sorry, I thought you.
I'm
I
on the
thought-
wagon now.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you
Alright,
did jump
okay.
on. So
Right.
it's just Adam.
Yeah, I'm gonna go after him.
Do it.
All right then. Let's go ahead. Give me a ride roll.
I'm gonna call this like pure adrenaline taking
I had a
over.
feeling this was maybe a lieutenant level character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
No.
Maybe.
I hope this won't constitute doing a look, but
Battery just got a very lucky strike in on me.
I think it only counts as pulling a Luke if you take your armor off to make you faster.
Which, you know, the armor check penalty, that could help.
So yeah, just straight up animal handling ride, and you do have a castle-bred horse, so add 1 to your total.
oh right, yeah.
And I'm gonna make his roll for this round, because you're actually doing this at that round, so he's not going to get an automatic degree of success this next combat round. I'm gonna make him roll for it and beat you to see if he
Did
gets
you-
one. So
Is that +1 for superior horse? Yeah.
yep, just add 1 to your total at the end.
Okay. 21. That was a surprisingly good roll.
The problem is his is also surprisingly good, and right now he's beating you by 1, because you are both on fantastic horses. If you've got any tricks to get yourself a +1 on it, like a destiny point to keep a die.
Yeah, I'll spend a destiny point for that. Fuck it.
All right, that is enough that he does not get further away this round, and he is now 2 degrees of success away.
Okay.
So starting next round, if you want to attack him, it's going to be your minor action to ride and keep up. If he beats your ride roll by 5 or more, he won't necessarily be out of bow shot, but it'll be around a corner in a can, so you'll need to be within 5 of his ride to keep line of sight. Okay?
Yeah, 'cause I was figuring that the 100 yards penalty would probably come into effect. That I'd be dropping a dice if he was more than 100
Not
yards
really. I'm not going to worry about that as actual range. It's a narrative fight. So he is definitely within range. It's just a matter of, has he veered off into a different canyon? Is there stuff in the way? Like, we're
Sure.
keeping it fairly simple instead of doing math for distances. That said, Erica.
Yeah.
1 second. It's messy. Do me a favor right now.
Mm-hmm.
Roll 3 dice. Keep 3. So there's no applicable bonus here. Just let me know what you end up with, and then 1 second.
Okay. Prompt me for the result.
Lay it on me.
13.
Very nice. All right, so 1 second.
I don't know.
Oh, and actually, take a +1 on that, so you're fine. 14 is even better. And then one second. I'm improvising because that's smart when you're running things live on the internet. And then, Erica,
Okay.
take a look in Discord,
Ooh.
and you will be taking over as Elia Sand, who just let out an indignant yelp as Adam went racing by, and has leapt successfully back into the saddle, rolling 3 dice and needing a 9 to not miss her horse and plummet to her doom. So she is back in the saddle, but because you actually rolled pretty well on that, let's go ahead and give her an animal handling ride check this round. So that's going to be 8 dice, keep 4. Hers is an extra +1 because she and Obara are doing their side quest, so you get to add 1 to the total of this. But you can take over on Elia Sand for this chase scene, because she is not letting Adam, of fucking all people, go racing away to chase the bad guy alone.
Okay. So 8 dice, keep 4, and add 1 gives me 20.
Nice.
All right, and this guy, she does have 1 destiny point. If you spend it right now, that will be enough to get her alongside Adam instead of 1 degree of success away. I'll leave it up to you if you think she's gonna start that hard.
I think she does because she can't let herself be shown up. So,
Right.
yeah,
So
immediate gratification.
Yep. So
She's gonna have to prove too. I disarmed her the other day.
So yeah, that is enough. Adam, were you able to hear that? Your camera's still up. There you go.
Yeah, sorry, I had to step away for a minute. What did I miss? I saw. I caught that Erica was going to be taking over Elia.
Yes, as you went riding by, low in the saddle, you hear a "Hey!" From behind you, and then you're hunched low over your mane, racing, and suddenly there is another sand steed abreast, right next to your horse, and Elia is low over the saddle, hunched in, and you two are neck and neck as she reaches for the long knife from her belt.
Yep. And then she reaches out and messes with your hair and says, "Do try to keep up."
I was already keeping up. Fuck! I hate her.
You were keeping up with me, goddammit!
So, with that,
I shoot Elia in the back. Not
we are-
really.
what we're gonna do is we're gonna start every round with opposed ride checks to determine distances. Like, we're gonna break initiative. Everyone else is getting wagons under control and stuff behind you guys, and everyone else's horses are going to stop, yada yada. So what we're gonna do is start every round with ride checks to determine range, basically. And then if you're within the 2 DOS, you can take a shot. And then depending on the distance with the other two, melee attacks can be happening. Is that making sense for everybody? So we're gonna break the normal initiative rules. Let's open with these ride checks.
Oh, she's gonna be bad. She's way better than me at riding.
I'm sure Luke's throwing something at them as they speed away.
Oh, that's not great. That is 13.
Okay. What's Elia got?
22.
All right. Elia is now 1 degree of success away. So she will be in melee range next round if she wants.
7 hells.
I don't suppose I'm in like bow shot range.
Not yet. You are 1 point away from
1
staying.
point.
Yes, if you got something else to keep a bonus die or anything like that, you are exactly 1 away from staying
Right.
in that 2nd degree of success.
Okay. Fatigue can't help me right now, can it?
If you're taking any injuries or wounds, a fatigue could help you clear those.
Yeah, because you've got you took 1 injury, right?
Yeah. So that was like bringing me down.
Yeah, by 1. So that would break
Okay.
you even this round, but then you'd
Yeah.
just have the fatigue and the injury next round. But yeah, if you've got a destiny point, that would do it.
Yeah, I'm sitting on 3 destiny points right now, so I'm gonna spend that fatigue just now.
Oh, you got a pile of those. Might as well use them.
Yeah, well,
I would.
because I had 4 temporary ones from people giving me destiny points, so I haven't had to touch my destiny for ages.
I would spend the destiny point instead of the fatigue.
Okay.
Because just so everyone knows, like, you're gonna get your full destiny back before the big ass battle. So
Alright, well, thanks
just
for that.
saying, it's not a recurring penalty.
Sure.
So
well, I
now,
spent that then.
so you are within the 2 DOS narrative range. You can't take an aim action because the writing in the narrative, but you can take a shot at this guy, or his
Yeah.
horse, or Elia, or her horse. You've got options.
I'm gonna take a shot at the guy because that's what we're competing for, isn't it? What? Don't drop them. Ooh.
Chasing after the same sandy-haired man as your cousin. Classic Adam.
Sandy hair's not my thing, really.
He
Sorry.
is a
Sorry.
bad boy though. Like he stabbed the shit out of your
Bad
sister.
boy.
So
Yeah.
he's pretty much a bad boy, like by definition.
Literally
I'm
bad
concerned
boy.
that they're outclassed in melee right now.
Yeah, I
They
mean,
get
like,
there.
but he's just a common bad boy. He's not like one of the interesting ones with like their own special cards and shit.
He could
we
be.
know.
You don't know yet.
Trying to put me off my boyfriend.
His raven number or whatever. Send a raven here.
Right, okay, so that is 23 for the bow shot.
All right. That is a palpable shot.
If a destiny point would make a big difference, I'm prepared to use one.
You are 1 point away from another degree of success.
Yeah, let's do that then.
All right, that makes it a 5 degree of success shot. So that is
Holy shit! Maybe melee won't matter.
Well, I need to live up to my binding.
20 points damage. His armor will do that.
I'm just concerned you guys need a melee with this guy who basically kicked Bela's ass, but this may not be an issue now.
So your arrow sinks into his fluttering drab brown cloak and sticks in his side. And there's now blood seeping into his, garments, his outer Dornish wrapping stuff that flows in the wind. So that one definitely got through armor and is either an injury or wound at the least. So now the penalties are going to start in on him, and let's make those ride checks for the top of next round. Uh-oh. This might not be his round.
Right, okay.
And what do we got? Who's got theirs ready?
23.
Woo.
Okay.
15.
We're on a ride.
All right. Elia has made it into melee range with him. And Ash, you have stayed in bowshot range. You didn't quite fall back. So
That's a
there's
relief.
that. And he is going to take a swipe at Elia. He's got a sword. She's got actually shit, she hasn't even got her dagger on there. Sorry. I normally don't put daggers on sheets. She has a dagger
Okay.
left. Her spear got stuck in a dude. So if you can look up a dagger while I roll this.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of them don't go
Or general
drop
mechanics, can we all assume we have a dagger on us in the future?
yeah, I mean, everybody has a dagger or a knife. Like there's a couple
Yeah.
options for that size of weapon. But yeah.
Okay.
Basic tool, something else.
Oh, fuck me. Or rather, fuck Elliot Sand.
Yeah.
No, thank you.
Good news is, he's not keeping nothing but 6s. The bad news is it's only one of them that is a 5. So, that's a 29 to hit Elia. Feels like a
Uncle Oberon's gonna kill us.
yeah. So that's basically gonna have to be a wound for her. I mean, unless you just want to say she's dead, because
No.
that's gonna be 29.
No, I want her to live to taste bitter defeat.
Yeah, that's a 5 degree of success hit from him. So that would be 25 points of damage coming at her.
Yeah, that's a wound.
So yeah, I think that's a safe bet. That said, I'm gonna say she can simultaneously attack this round, since we're fucking with the narrative.
Okay.
So it's kind of a stabby flurry of blows. And the Sand Snakes are pretty notoriously brutal, so maybe she stabs his horse. Just putting it out there. She's not a knight or pretending to be. So that might be a way to get a leg up and stay in this. Just putting the option out there for a not terribly chivalrous character, as a reminder.
Not all of us has said the words for the 7.
Well, if I have a result of 11 on this, she might go for the horse instead.
Your call. Let me. 1 second.
What would Elia Sand do?
So, I assume you guys are out of range actually here, but Luke's basically yelling like, "Come back! We got what we need!"
one other thing though, while I'm looking up the stats for the Sand Steed, because Elia is literally in like knife fighting range, she gets a better look at this guy. In his haste, he has cast away his shield to just focus on riding, and his as he arced in pain from getting shot in the liver or whatever. It's not a liver. Anyways, it's off to the side more. The face wrappings are coming undone, and she can tell he's actually a pretty good-looking guy. But he's got a lazy eye. It's a very noticeable trait on him as she kind of stares at him instead of the incoming sword blade that like hits her as hard as she's ever been hit in her young life. There's this moment of trying to hold the gaze of the dude that she just like outrode, you know, and she is able to very clearly get that look at him. And goddamn, where stats? I'm just gonna say it would count as an injury on the Sand Steed.
Okay.
Because they are constantly described as being high-tuned riding machines, so it would be a -1 to his ride checks, basically.
Okay. Yeah, that's what she does.
All right, so she's able to lash out at the horse and give it a pretty gnarly draw blood, and it kind of panics. You hear it holler angrily, like horses do. And then let's make some ride checks for the next round, unless you think Elia would want to fall back. She's like, if she would call that a win and get out of melee range, because he is going to go first in the melee attacks. After that one round, it's now going to be archery, sword, knife.
I think she would probably back off after that.
Okay, so she can pull back like 1 degree of success.
Mm-hmm.
Not even going to bother making a roll to see if she manages it, because she's good enough there. Holy fuck, this guy's garbage this round.
That's good, because I only
she stabs.
because I only rolled just enough again. I got 16.
You beat him by 3. Would you like to get 1 DOS away instead of 2?
Yes, please. I didn't.
Here you go.
I thought I'd only got just enough to keep up. Wow.
He rolled trash.
Okay.
So in fact, actually, Erica, instead, I'm gonna say if you make a ride roll, and you beat him by 5, Elia can get in front and kind of start blocking his horse, fucking with him and slowing him down and stuff.
Okay. Well, she can only keep 3 of the 4 6s she rolled.
Unless she wants to take a point of fatigue. But even so, she's gonna beat him by 5.
Say is 18 enough?
Yeah, so she beats him by 5. So she kind of pulls back a little, and then actually it's just to like drift behind him and race up around the other side. And she slashes at the horse again in a feint, and the horse is like, fuck, I know that thing, that sucks. And it's, I learned my lesson.
Oh, hell no.
So she's now going to functionally, we're going to skip the ride checks unless something changes. So she's going to be blocking him enough. So Ash, you've got your mighty bow.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So. Oh. Okay. That looks quite good.
48.
Oh man, I wish. Excuse me. Right. Sorry, I'm really crap at counting in my head. 27.
All right. It's a pretty okay roll, I guess, if you like pips on your dice, some kind of weirdo. And give me a second here. He is combat defense 9, so 1 second. You are 2 points away from another degree of success. Put it out there if you've got a die to keep.
Yeah. How many? 2 points?
Yep, two
Cool.
more hits.
Cool. Right, I'll spend my last destiny point to keep my 3 that I had that would just bring me over.
All right, that tops it out at a 5 degree of success shot.
But that's me like spent all my good shit.
And that will hit him for 16 fucking points. That is a wound. So yeah, that one sucks. It's another shot that goes thunking right into his back. And you can actually see a spray of blood from his mouth as he goes. That's now an anime-style cough. They love those. And he is frustratedly slashing at Elia, who is just able to dance just out of sword strike range. She's like, and actually, I feel like something like "it's not long enough" might be appropriate as a taunt from her. Because she turns it into an almost flirtatious thing. She's like, no, it's not a spear. You're not going to catch me. Get fucked. Just kidding. Haha, you don't get to get fucked.
Hey,
As she
hey.
just stays just away
LOL,
from him.
get wrecked.
Get fucked is Adam's line. She can't steal it.
We stole it.
So, where we're at is basically between the injuries to his horse, his injuries, and his wound, there's basically nothing he can do. And because I described him dropping the crossbow earlier, because I thought it would be a purer chase scene than him just getting shot to pieces, he is going to ride away until Adam kills him. So Adam just described the kill shot, basically. He is going to continue trying to escape. Like, it's probably going to take 2 more arrows. But yeah, like, I'm just not in the mood to keep rolling it all out. But he's lost enough dice and has enough other penalties. And yeah, so it's just going to be a matter of how you decide to find the kill.
Right. Okay. So what? Right. I don't want to accidentally hit Elia as much as I hate her, but so like is she like blocking him from the front, basically?
Yeah, she's like, you know, like when race car drivers swerve to the side, back and forth, and keep somebody from pulling up.
Sure.
She's doing that, while also, you know, she's probably waving one of her like billowing ribbon things to like fluster the horse, and you know, just being a pain in the ass. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
this is pretty cool when she's not doing it to me, right? Like she's making
Yeah.
taunt rolls basically.
Yeah, totally. That's right. I don't actually hate her. Just she frustrates Adam. Right. So, yeah, I think like I kind of. I think it would be cool as a kind of team effort. Basically, like she's kind of riding in front of him, making him kind of veer around a lot, which is making him a quite difficult moving target for Adam. But they kind of start riding down towards like a bit of a sheer kind of ravine-like thing, and just kind of as they're getting to it, Adam like looses an arrow as she like shunts him basically right into the path of it, and it kind of goes through the back of his neck and knocks him kind of down into the ravine below.
And he does not roll with it the way that riders are supposed to roll with it when they're moving at speed. He is not coherent enough to put effort into tumbling. And in fact, kind of luckily for him, he doesn't, because he's got like 3 arrows sticking out of his back and now 1 through his neck. But instead, he actually just face plants into the ravine. Like he tumbles off the horse, like face first into it. And
And I think basically because like, and not a minute too soon because Adam has seen the incline and that carries a whole bunch of horrible memories for him, and like he's already still like really fucking panicking and shit. So
yeah,
like pulls up his horse really super like like
we'll
so
see if
sharply that it
we'll-
nearly falls backwards.
we'll see if he pulls up his horse that hard. Because, man, that terrible wet crunching noise of his neck snapping reminds you of what happened to your leg, and that is a really big ravine right there. And you are out of destiny points. So
Yeah,
let's
but-
make another will courage roll.
Oh shit! Okay, yeah.
Ah,
Thanks for
damn
tossing
it, Rusty.
tossing that ravine there and reminding me that, bad stuff happened. I almost forgot.
Yeah, Adam kind of fell into one 6 months ago, and it was a real bad time.
It was a real bad time.
It's almost like it fundamentally changed him as a person.
It's almost like it's one of his defining characteristics.
Almost, very, very nearly. 14.
You are just fine. In fact, you feel like you could probably hop over that ravine and then draw up on the reins and look a little bit cooler.
Really?
'Cause you got-
wait, you're not
you got-
just kidding me on,
Yeah,
right?
you got a degree of success. I was gonna make it a 9, and if you failed, you were gonna take a bunch of fatigue and like look visibly shook. But yeah, if you want, you can clear the ravine instead, and look like you've got your shit together a little bit more, which might be good because you hear wagons coming up from behind you, but also Elia's right there.
Yeah. Well, I like the thought that Adam's as surprised at clearing the ravine as anyone else might be, but like his horse is a good horse, so like Bart has just cleared it, even though he was trying to pull him back, and he's like, oh, for a minute it's like, oh shit, the horse isn't stopping. Oh, okay, actually it's fine. Breathe now.
Yeah, just gotta trust the
and-
horse sometimes, as
and-
much
and-
as the horse trusts you.
Yeah.
You know.
And once he's taken that first breath, like, okay, now I can turn around and let like people see me, because fuck, that was terrifying.
All right. So you get your horse to a stop. Elia comes trotting back with this kind of cream and yellow colored sand steed that she is now crooning and apologizing to. She's got it by the reins and is leading it back to the group. The wagons pull up and are able to stop just short of the ravine. Obara Sand jumps down, grabs the body by the breastplate, and rolls it over. And you guys all see Cletus Ironwood lying dead in a ditch.
Fucking called it.
Holy shit.
And roll
Yeah.
credits.
Holy shit.
And
I knew
I
that
put
the
my
fucking
my
lady I was meant
detective
for-
hat back on.
And roll credits, because it's 6 o'clock. But we once again timed that shit pretty fucking well. So,
That's the
5
air.
XP for everybody. And yeah, you've got a pretty interesting piece of evidence now.
We're definitely bringing that back with us.
You know, I didn't guess. I never dreamed Cletus himself would be leading the fucking wagon
Yeah.
train. But just felt Ironwoody.
So, good session, everybody. That was a total success. All 3 wagons were seized, not just like they could have been destroyed. They could have been routed away, and neither team would have gotten them. But yeah, you guys have seized all 3 wagons. So, Erica, you've got 3 units that you can apply armor upgrades to.
Okay.
Everything's covered up by tarps so that I didn't have to describe exactly what the armor was.
Yeah.
But in the abstract, any 3 units you can give armor upgrades to, and that's not any 300 guys. You can't do like all the cavalry units and 5-to-1
Right, yeah.
ratio. But in the fluff, we're just gonna say it's any 3 of those units can get an upgrade. Yeah, this was a pretty good session, y'all. And we will be back in 2 weeks, everybody. Thank you for watching, viewers. Hope you had a good time with our fastest and furiousest episode to date. Also, you guys have a new castle-bred sandsteed that you might be able to talk Elia into sharing.
Good luck.
She is totally calling dibs on that. Her sandsteed is not castle-bred, so maybe you can just talk her into keeping it and you get hers, whatever. But yeah, there's a new castle-bred sandsteed for the party. Maybe. But yeah, we had a pretty productive one. You guys have now wrapped up all of your side quests. And as you go riding back to Kingsgrave, there's no mistaking a sprawling campsite on the horizon. The Vulture King's troops have amassed, and you guys have one night before riding to battle. So you're going to have a pretty solid episode in 2 weeks of hanging out that night, making any final preps, etc., and then we're going to see how things go. So thanks for joining us, everybody. Players, good stuff. I feel like everybody had some pretty badass moments in this one. The Sand Snakes ended up being more fun than I thought. So I'm really glad you guys picked them for this. And we've got another couple of notches going both ways in the cousin rivalry between Adam and Elia, because they both got to look pretty cool this one. And Adam, on top of the 5 XP that you just got, give yourself a bonus die in Ride to reflect some of that confidence coming back. Because we discussed that Adam used to be a better rider, and some of it kind of fell away from him falling. So let's just go ahead and let's call that a bonus 10 XP there. So yeah, because you also made some pretty impressive ride rolls and some pretty impressive will rolls. So yeah, we're all proud of Adam.
I'm so glad I took that bonus dice in courage, because that made the difference multiple times.
Yeah, I mean, rolling 3, keeping 3 against a 9 is absolutely a crapshoot. Like, that's right on the edge. That's middle of the bell curve.
Yeah.
Having that extra die just bumps it up enough to feel better. So, good episode, everybody.
That's why I prefer the bonus dice, definitely.
So, all right, we'll see everybody back here in 2 weeks. Everybody watching from home, please stay at home as long as you can. Stay safe, be smart, listen to doctors. We don't want to lose any viewers. So everybody have a good one. We'll see you back here in 2 weeks. And also, tell your coronavirus landlocked friends now is a great time to get caught up on YouTube. So, see everybody in a couple of weeks.
Bye.
Bye.